allegiance. Madam Clerk, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, members of the council, and staff. Number 3, presentation of 2021 annual budget process. Mr. Kissinger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have Ms. Pat Walker from Walker Consultants with us. She's here virtually with us from Phoenix. She'll be on the screen. Your handout on her presentation's on your desk. It's the one that has a picture of City Hall on it. She'll be going over that with you. And so, Pat, you can hear me. If you can unmute your mic and turn your...
Yes.
And you're on, Pat. Thank you.
Okay. Mayor and members of the council, good evening. What we're going to be talking about this evening is the 2021 budget process moving forward and discussing some of the challenges that you as a council are going to be facing with this COVID-19 upon us. So I'm going to be talking about all the budget. I'm going to be talking a little bit about 1920 and what we're going to be doing on that. The next steps, and then the COVID-19 impact, and then we'll finish it up with any questions the council would have or any discussions. So if you would go to slide 3, which is on page 2 of the handout you got, if you have 2 slides on it, but it's slide 3, we're going to talk about the COVID-19 impact. So slide 4, and I don't think they're probably telling you anything that you haven't already heard, but I'll just repeat what we know as finance people. I work with cities and towns all over the state of Arizona, and so this has been a really hot topic for all of us to be talking about this fiscal year. The impact, as you know, we felt from mid-March when they started locking everything down to when. That's the question. Every community is going to be impacted based on their tax base. So, for example, if you're a community that didn't really have any motels, restaurants, things like that, but you had a Walmart, you had a big grocery store, you might be doing better right now because everybody went out and stocked up on supplies. But if you're a community that depends on tourism at all, or people coming into your city, or in the case of Nogales, you're a border city. You have unique challenges. So you can't just say, okay, let's just do it a revenue projection this way, and it's going to fit for every community in the state of Arizona. It won't. There's good news, bad news, I guess, for Nogales tax base. The good news is that you still are taking in pretty good revenues because for the reason that people probably stocked up in things. The bad news is we really don't know what's going to happen for sure in the coming months. The revenues that are going to be impacted, and we'll talk more about this, in the general fund is the state sales taxes, vehicle license, and gas tax. And I'll go into a little bit more detail because there's certain revenues that will get impacted, not only for 1920, which is July 1, 19 for June of 20. You're going to have your half of March, your April, your May, your June, but then how long is it going to go into the rest of the year? And we just really don't know for sure anything at this point. So when we go into the budgeting process, we're going to be optimistic to some degree, but very conservative. So if you turn to the next slide, slide 5, as I mentioned, you have certain considerations in the border city, and I've talked to John a little bit about that and some of the challenges that your community is facing. But one of the good things and the bright side of things is that we just found out that the governor's allocation for the Arizona CARES is going to give Nogales $2,307,956,000. What does that mean? Well, the way the program is set up is that you are able to claim public safety costs from March 1 through June 30th of 2020 and an estimate of July 1 through December 31st of 2020. And if those equate to at least $2,307,956, you're going to get that allocation. we're hoping that that takes care of the problem. And maybe that's gonna bridge the gap until the economy improves. But that's what we're gonna have to figure out here in the next few weeks as we present the budget to the council. So if you go to slide 6, the COVID-19 economic impact, there was a report that came out recently by two of the top economists in the state of Arizona, Dennis Hoffman and Lee Peters, and they said that they think the recession will last, and this is Arizona, this is not the country, this is Arizona, 3 to 9 months starting in mid-March, the recovering economy by early 2020 if there's no major COVID-19 outbreak again in the fall, and that's a big if. They think it was going to be more of a V-shaped versus a U-shaped economic recovery, but I think since May 5th we're even learning in the community that it is becoming more of a U-shape, because even though things are opening up, the cases are rising, people are still fearful of getting out and going to the restaurants. They have started to open their capacity, and they're just not full. So it really sounds like it's going to be more of a U-shape with slow recovery versus just a big spike in it. Unemployment rate for Arizona in 2020, they estimated to rise to 9.4% and then easing to 5.5% in 2021. Our unemployment rate in Arizona for 2019 was 4.7%, to give you some perspective. Federal aid is essential to recovery, as we found out, and thank goodness we got that federal aid through the state at $2.3 million. And then because of the relatively low density in Arizona cities and towns, we're not in New York, we're not in Chicago, where everybody's jam-packed in and living in the city like that, we're more spread out in the state of Arizona. They think that, and because there's not as much dependency, I guess that's good news, bad news, on public transit. And just because we have a lot of outdoor activities that people can still participate in and feel safe, maybe that's going to help us through this. But that's all projections, and you probably listen to another economist, you might hear different ones, but this is what we can go by right now. So let's talk a little bit about the budget process, okay? So if you go to slide 8, I just want to kind of recap what the Arizona states have been said, what we have to do. And one of the things that they say is, and I don't understand this, but the budget must be adopted by the 3rd Monday in July, or July 20th for this year at the latest. Your fiscal year begins July 1. Normally, you will not see cities and towns adopt a budget as late as July. I mean, it's done, it's legal before the 20th, but everybody tries to get their budget, at least their ceiling, their tentative budget, adopted by July 1. The tentative budget, as I said, is just the ceiling. It's saying this is the most money we think we're going to take in next year. And really, it's very flexible with the council because the council can decide from the day it's adopted until all year long if you want to move things around. You don't want to constantly do that because it's supposed to be a roadmap for your departments to be able to deliver services. But my point is that after you adopt a tentative budget and you say, well, you know what, we want to now really dig into each of the areas before we adopt our final, then you can do that. But if you don't adopt a tentative, you're not allowing, at least a ceiling, you're not allowing you to have the appropriation, maybe to spend things. A perfect example is grants. You may adopt a large amount of appropriation for grants. You may not receive them, but you have the appropriation and flexibility to do that. That's what we're going to try to do with the mayor and council this year, is give them as much flexibility to be able to move with the ever-moving target of the economy. So we're going to be doing things in this budget to allow you to do that, but yet giving you information to say, well, what if these revenues don't come in this way? What does that look like? In other words, if I'm estimating out, and I'll just use round numbers, $1 million for local sales tax, but I really think I'm only going to take in 80% of that if the economy keeps declining, then maybe we need to manage our budget under $800,000, but our ceiling's $1 million. And we'll talk more about that, but that's like a reserve that can be set up so the council has the flexibility that, let's say in December, not that you're not going to be monitoring your budget all along, you're going to have to, everybody's going to have to. But in December, if you say, you know what, the economy came back a little bit better than we anticipated, we can move some money up from there. We've got the flexibility to do that. So that's what we're trying to do. As I said, COVID-19 has complicated everything on budgets. Everything from the allocation that we got from the Arizona CARES program to what if we can get from Arizona FEMA, the FEMA funds for COVID-19 reimbursement expenses, and then that really, if you get that, then you can't double count and count it on the allocation, and so there's just so many things that have to be taken into consideration in this budget that it's not going to be perfect anyway. It's going to be a little bit of a moving target. So there's no set date for the final budget adoption unless you have a property tax levy, and you don't. So if you adopt a tentative budget, let's say by the end of June, so you have a ceiling for July 1, you can really spend time in July or August through each of the funds and say, you know, we want this and this and this and this. But, you know, to not have at least a ceiling budget, I think makes you go into the dark a little bit into the fiscal year. And there is a public hearing required for the final budget adoption. It doesn't mean that you can't have a public hearing at your tentative. You can, it's not required by state statute, but you can have a public hearing. The only thing I would say with a tentative is that if you are adopting a tentative and a ceiling, then you may not know a lot of things other than get input from people into the process itself, but you won't be digging into it until after that tentative is. So if you go to the next slide, which is slide 9, in the budget process, the first step we have to do is project the revenues. As I said, one for the ceiling to say, well, if everything continues to be good, here's where the ceiling is. If it goes bad, what does that COVID-19 revenue projection look like? If, and let's just again use round numbers, I say that, okay, everything's good, our general fund revenue budget is going to be $10 million. If COVID gets hard and I look at every one of the line items in there and I say, well, I think it's going to be more like, you know, $8 million. That's a $2 million deficit. So then the question is, council, do we want to take it out of fund balance then if we hit that mark? Do we want to delay capital projects? We're doing expenditures in the departments. And so that's what has to be looked at. The expenditures will be prepared for council review, not assuming a COVID-19 deficit, but even more reason why you're going to have to, because we're too late in the process to do that, so we'll adopt a ceiling, but that can be pared down after the tentative budget adoption. You can look at it and say, you know, maybe we shouldn't be doing any travel. Once we see what that differential is on the revenue side, that gives you a roadmap on what you need to do on the expense side. Like I said, either take it out of fund balance, take it out of capital projects delay, reduce department expenditure, or maybe a combination of the three. So the last thing is that you just really need to be very cautious of spending next fiscal year, and monitoring is going to be essential. It's really going to be essential. You know, you use fund balance to balance your budget in the past, and in the state of Arizona, unfortunately, we do have to produce a balanced budget, unlike the federal. We have to show that our revenues are going to equal our expenditures. So if you go to the next slide, I just want to talk a little bit about what revenues are going to be impacted by COVID-19 the most. As I mentioned, the local sales tax, also the bed tax, hotel. Most places are seeing a major decline. The hotel of 180 rooms, and they've rented out 13 of the rooms lately. So they're feeling a big impact. And we're going to have to dig into that a little bit more and fine-tune that a little bit more for Nogales. The state shared sales tax, we didn't have spring training. We did not have our March tourism that we normally do with spring break. The state is going to feel the pain. And if the pie is smaller, the distribution to all the cities and towns based on population is going to be smaller too. So that's a concern. The state shared auto blue tax, such as vehicle license tax, I imagine people are going to be hanging on to their cars more, and the tax is based on the value of the car, so therefore they may see a decrease in the vehicle license tax. The highway user revenue. That revenue is based on the number of gallons sold, not on the price of gas.
need IT to do something for us.
What's that gonna do for building for the dollars? What's that gonna do for recreation programs and business registrations? All those things. Pay delinquent, what's your cash flow for water and sewer? Because you still have to pay the same bills whether or not your, people are paying. So that's something to be taken into consideration. And the last thing I put down there was the ambulance. Again, it's not that you're not running as many ambulance calls and serving people, it's just people are losing their jobs or lost their jobs, and what's that gonna do with the insurance coverage, and then how much our partner pay is gonna be able to pay. It's all things that can be impacted, that if you start to look at the whole picture, you want, wow, there's a lot of different pieces in your budget that could be impacted, and why we need to be cautious. So if you go to the next slide, the bottom line is that in fiscal year 1920, you budgeted $2.4 million in contingency reserve, okay? As far as I know, none of that's been that, but the general fund, ending fund balance for fiscal year 19 was $13.1 million. So what we're gonna look at is say, okay, you began fiscal year 20, which is July 1, with $13.1 million. If you didn't spend any of your contingency, then you just look at your revenues and your expenditures and you say, are we gonna decrease our fund balance or are we gonna increase it? That is you how much money you're carrying forward fiscal year 21 and how much cushion you have. That is a healthy fund balance, but as you know, it's if you have to start dipping into your savings account to pay your mortgage, you're gonna get worried, especially if you don't get a job. So if we can't replenish that and drain it, then that will be a problem. But on the other hand, I will say, that's why you have that fund balance reserve, is to use, if there was ever a rainy day, it's raining, okay? And so if you have to dip into it, you just have to have a plan in the future, how you're gonna replenish it so that you don't end up spending down all your savings. So those are things we talk about too. So you go to the next slide, 12. As I mentioned, if expenditures are lower than fiscal year 20 budget amounts, then maybe the fund balance will come in higher, even if the revenues drop and you didn't spend as much. And this is what's going to be reviewed over the next 2 weeks before we present the budget for council to look at for a tentative budget. So the next slide is that my recommendation, and just have done this for 40 years and working all over the state, is that I would recommend that you adopt the tentative budget by the end of June. Like I said, that doesn't mean it's final, it's nowhere near final, it just means it adopts a ceiling and you're comfortable adopting the ceiling on the revenue side to be able to afford the expenditure side. Then you can sit down and review the budget in more detail with council in July before adopting the final budget. You go into August, it doesn't matter, there's no state statute that says you have to have a final budget by July such and such. And then, but I would suggest you have that final budget adopted by August, so that everybody knows what roadmap they have to deliver services. Because if you cut back on departmental budgets, that may mean you're cutting back on some service delivery, and that has to be looked at too. So with that, I lost the,
We did that on purpose, Pat, because we're breaking up, so you lost the video feed into us, but we can still hear you fine.
Okay, good. So with that, I'll turn it over to the council for questions, discussion, anything like that.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Mrs. Walker,
Yes?
that explanation that you gave, I wasn't aware of that money that Governor Ducey allocated to various cities with the exception of 2 cities under Arizona Care. I didn't know it needed an application process.
Yes, they still have to put in an application process because you have to provide, what your expenditures are for police and fire with benefits, and possibly dispatch. We'll look for any public safety expenditures we can turn in. And then you have to turn in what you spent last year in addition to it, because you have to be able to show that you need reimbursed for those and that you're not just adding a bunch of in this fiscal year. So yeah, there is an application process as far as getting the allocation given to you.
So then, when could we, if we were to receive the 2.3 million, when would we actually receive that cash?
Fiscal year 21, there's no way they're gonna get it by this year.
Oh, it won't be this year. So it won't help us in the upfront here. Well, yeah, but we don't know if we're gonna get it.
Not upfront.
We're gonna get them. Have to do the paperwork.
I mean, I've never known for any application process to happen, that quickly, since now it's June 3rd, and even if we get it turned in, with every city in the state of Arizona turning in things, I just don't see them turning it around by the end of June.
So Pat, Bernie was on on a webinar with the state, today on the application process. And later on tonight, he can give council a little bit more information on when they can expect to receive that 2.3 million.
Okay, isn't it fiscal year 21 though?
I'm not sure, we'll let him talk, we'll let him speak to it, but the last, webinar we're on with, the leagues, they talked about a turnaround being very, very quick.
Okay, well, that would be great. If all it would do though, John, is increase your fund balance forward then. You
Correct.
know, that's all it would do.
Correct.
So, you're still okay for this fiscal year because you have a strong fund balance, so I'm not worried about it and the appropriations you have. So, you know, it doesn't matter either way. And yeah, I was on the call on the webinar with the governor's office when they went through everything too.
That's right.
So.
I just, for one, Mayor, think that we should not start a fiscal year without having a tentative budget. Because then, the staff doesn't know what we have approved. And if we wait another 30 days, so we would give them 1/12 of the year to spend how they want to spend. Even though, if you look at our fund balances and the comments that Mrs. Walker made, and the comments that was made in the audit report, they indicate that our directors have basically been very conservative in nature, and we're not struggling financially right now, even though I think the last time I reviewed this, we had about $800,000, hopefully it went up to $1 million that we have over last year right now, so we're not in too bad a shape that we have to lay off people right away, like some communities are having to do. But it's been because during the fiscal year, they have monitored the revenue with the expenses. And I think there's only one department, according to the audit report, I know that there's only one department that exceeded their budget by about $24,000. But that's about it. I think we have very good fiscally responsible administrators, and very conservative in their outlook, and that's why we're not in a rush dire situation with this COVID adverse impact on our community. So I do feel comfortable, but I would still like, Mr. Kissinger, for us to approve a tentative budget by the end of June. I don't want the staff to think that.
And that was the plan, right?
Yes, yes, it was.
Okay, that's all I have. Most of my questions are for the next presentation.
Mr. Kissinger, when do we have plans of getting together with department heads?
Sure. So Pat, you want to talk a little bit about how we're going to do the budget hearings with mayor and council after we pass the tentative budget?
Yes, mayor and council, again, working with different cities and towns, what we try to do is, and maybe some of you have heard my presentations as newly elected officials, every 2 years, I think it is. But the bottom line is that you really want council to focus on the services that you're delivering for each department. And if you get too focused on every line item, like office supply and everything, then, and you should be able to be presented that and ask questions. But I think it's more important that what are you getting for the money that you're appropriating? And the reason is because your citizens tell you what services they're happy with, what they're not happy with, what they want to see in the future. Staff doesn't give that direct, well, most of the time, and council does, and that's what your job is as policymakers. And that's the guidance that we'll be looking for moving forward, is that if this is the budget services. So, and we don't have a lot of room this year. This is not about trying to find out how to add things in the budget. This is a year where we're gonna really have to clamp things down and say, let's just put a pause button on until we get to further in the year, at the end of the year. So if every department head comes forward and presents what they want and how they want it, I just don't think it's useful at this point in time, because you're presenting a ceiling budget and you just don't know what's gonna happen. So again, my recommendation is that you adopt a tentative budget, we present to you maybe the significant variances that are there in each of the departments, or if anything was added, and go through the departments like that. And departments are there to answer questions, but we have a budget, maybe like a budget work session with council, and present it that way. And then if there's more questions or more things like that, then fine. I think council can put together a list of things that they would like to see maybe, if the economy improves, but we're just such an uncertain times, I just don't see how we're gonna be able to add things at this point in time.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't add things after the tentative, or can you?
No, you can move them around.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, you can't add, so why wait till after the tentative to talk about it? Why not do it before the tentative budget, so we can know exactly what it is? Because the tentative basically usually, it's gonna be the same afterwards. We're gonna approve the tentative, and then we're gonna approve the budget, it's gonna look the same. So, I myself, since I've been here in the years in the past, we've had our meetings before the tentative, so that we can get an idea. And I know we might not be able to do a lot of the work we had planned to do, but I'd really like to hear, directors. I like to hear staff talk about that, and at least have a wish list, or, I'm not saying that we're going to do it, but I want to know exactly what they're going to be doing, because what they do out in the street is reflects not only on us, but it reflects on the community. And I don't think it's just a budget that's going to be thrown in with a bunch of graphs saying this is what you're going to get, and hope you get it. I like the discussion myself.
The thing, Mrs. Walker, is that the way we look at our budget here is that we have a COVID every year in Nogales, but it's disguised as the Mexican peso. The fluctuation of the Mexican peso is what our community depends a lot on, the sales tax. So we usually build our tentative budget by hearing our directors, and then we're ready after that to have that public hearing and approve our final budget. But the staff here is pretty much all the words that you've said, the narrative that you have explained. We've been doing that for years and years because we don't have a property tax, and our budget is built basically on tourism for Mexico. So that's how I agree with the mayor. That's how I would like to approach it though too. It might be, this COVID might be unique for some communities, and it does have an impact on us. But luckily, we are in the black because we have taken that financial conservative approach where we monitor and adjust on a monthly basis. And our previous finance director, Mrs. Perales, has done an excellent job to make sure that we are in the black right now and we are not financially stressed out. We'll look at that after July the 1st. But I think all the words that you said, we've been doing that for years and years and years, especially supervising what goes in and monitoring the expenses by staff on a monthly basis. And I too agree with you, Mayor. I would rather have that up front, and then when we approve the tentative budget, we're ready to have the public hearing. I mean, if we make an adjustment, it is so minor. I think last year what we did, the only adjustments that we made, Mr. Kissinger, is there were salary adjustments between the tentative and the final. That's all we did. And we just moved some things around, but we were ready to go.
Yes, go ahead, Councilman.
Mr. Mayor, I agree with you also. We've always done it that way. We've always been hands-on on the budget before we do the tentative. And I think that's the way we should handle it also, because at least that way we'll know if once we get after the tentative, I think we just lose a lot of contact with the budget itself, and then we'll be trying to catch up with it. So I think we should look at it before the tentative is done.
I concur with Councilman Enesian on that, but and after that, you know, we leave it up to the staff to manage the budget for them. That's up to them to make sure. If they need to make recommendations to us and come back and say, hey, we gotta cut this projects out, then that's what we have a staff for. That's why we have them to come and tell us what has to be done with, as they monitor the revenues. So I'm pretty
Yes.
Mayor,
much.
could I clarify one thing?
Sure.
Again, the tentative budget is just setting how much revenues you're bringing in, and I know you've always done it a certain way. You have a unique situation here, not the COVID. I would agree with you, Councilmember. You have something to face in Nogales all the time. I'm not saying that. COVID is unique, but you also have other things that affect you. The whole idea behind adopting a tentative is that you're running out of time here to get all that information to you and having time to digest it and get it beforehand. And yet, but you started a lot earlier on this process in the past. And so all I'm trying to do is say that you can't generate any more revenue than what we project. So no matter what, if we tell you the budget is $10 million and you adopt the tentative budget, you still have $10 million no matter what. It's just where you want to put it. And and there's nothing wrong with moving things around between the tentative and the final. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of communities do that. But it's a tentative, and that's why it's called tentative, and it sets the ceiling for your expenditure limitation. That's all it does. You know, I just want to make sure that if we try to do it before the tentative, that we give you enough time to look at it and digest it and do it. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I think I want to get you the information you need, and I still have to do a lot of looking at your revenue projections. And things have changed since 2 days ago with the 2.3 million allocation. Things are changing daily with what they're going to do or not do. So we have to build that into the budget. We just found out about it. So that's why I'm asking that, you know, if you want to approve the tentative, if you want to have public hearings, then I would just ask the council to push out the tentative budget until July then, because I don't know how we're going to get it all done by the end of June. That's all.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
Go
I
ahead.
do want to correct Mrs. Walker on just one point that she's not familiar with yet, is that this mayor and council has asked the staff since February and March that we wanted to start the budget building process in April, and we wanted to know the dates, when we were going
Yes.
to do it. You can recall that.
Yes.
So because when there's a statement that's made, we're late. Well, we're not late because of us. We've asked the staff to give us the dates so we could set them aside, so we could meet with staff and do all of this forecasting of our revenue. And then we were told that something else came out with a 5, 10, 15, and 20% reduction in revenues, how much that was equal to reducing our budget. But we are at this point, Mrs. Walker, because we've had some trials and tribulations with the administration. But it is not because of any failure of the mayor and council. We were ready to work on this in April.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I didn't think it was the council's fault at all. I know that there was some events that led up to it as to why it wasn't done, but on top of it, you know, you're making a transition with the finance director, and I jumped in right away to learn everything about your budget as much as I can in a quick period of time, and I've done that. But I want to fine tune some things for you so you have the best budget that you can adopt, and that you're flexible, and you have all the information you need to make the best decisions. And that's really key to any budget process, is that council has all the facts so that when you decide what you want to approve for the budget, you have the information. So that's why I'm asking, if you don't want to adopt a tentative budget without a lot of discussion and hearings, then I think we need to postpone the tentative budget adoption past June. That's all I'm saying.
And what, Mrs. Walker, what is your timeline if we were to agree, we wanted to hear your recommendations? What is your timeline?
Well, your next meeting is what, June 17th?
No, we can schedule a meeting any day. But the scheduled meeting will be, yes.
Okay, well then, if we can do a special meeting, I'll see what we can do, because you have to get the information out to council a week before the council meeting, correct?
Well, yeah, give us enough time to look at it.
Right. So if you were to do the 17th, and I'm just using that for an example, that means you'd have to get the information out by next week. Unfortunately, and I don't know if the city manager told you this, but I'm in Illinois, and because my mother passed away. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'll be back Sunday, and I'll start working on it, but I need at least another week past then to do it, okay?
Okay.
And then I can get something out, and we can make it the week after that.
I think
Okay.
all we actually need to be kept advised of what's going on, right? If you find anything that's out of the ordinary, I think just advise us, as it's coming up, instead of giving it all to us in one shot. Maybe if we're advised ahead of time, we can then react to it.
Okay, that's fair. I would agree. I would agree. So I think if we push it up a week past the 17th, we can do a special meeting, then we can meet it, but I need next week to work on the budget.
Okay.
Mayor, let's see what she comes up with first with revenues and everything.
Yes.
So that at least we can have some kind of a format. If we decide then to go and meet with because we're not on a time crunch, if we want to meet with the administrators, then at least we know what financial boundaries are being recommended to us.
Okay, that's fair.
All right then.
That's fair.
Just one question, man.
Yes, go ahead, Councilman.
Ms. Walker, on the ceiling, just to get a clarification, what is safer, if we put a high ceiling, how can we adjust, or if we put a low ceiling, is it adjustable upward, after the tentative budget?
No, Councilmember, you can't raise a budget after the tentative. So that's why I want to make sure
Yes.
that, we are putting an optimistic look on the revenues for the tentative, because if the economy improves, the last thing I want to happen is that you can't spend the money. So once you adopt the tentative, you can lower it. You could say our tentative budget is, 50 million, but our final budget is going to be 40 million. You have the choice to do that.
Yes.
Or you can say, we're going to keep it at 50 million, but we're not going to dedicate this much money to all the departments. We're going to cut that back, and so we're not going to spend all that money. You've got total flexibility after you adopt the tentative. It's just making sure that the ceiling is correct, and
Yes.
that we have enough to get you that, and I will make sure of that.
Okay, just wanted to get clarification.
That's good.
All right. Thank you, members of the council. Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Pat.
Yes, did you want me to stay on, John, or?
So Pat, I think we can let her go.
Yes.
Pat, and on behalf of the city of Nogales and the mayor, we offer our condolences for the recent passing of your mom.
Thank you very much, I appreciate that. Thank you, council.
Thank you. Thank you. B, presentation of audit for FY 2018-2019. Mr. Kissinger?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have, on this side of the screen, we have somebody, from the office of Dennis Osage that will go over a presentation for you, and that was also handed out to you. It's the one that has a picture of a bicycle. And, ma'am, I'm sorry, it's not Dennis, I understand. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't get, your name, maybe, Jeanette or, Bernie can, unmute their mic and introduce you. for the council.
Okay.
Bernie,
Can
Jeanette?
you, can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, great, thank you. And does everybody have the packet in their, presentation?
Yes.
In front of them? Okay,
Yes.
great. So, I'll introduce myself. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and council members. My name is Ann Tseng. I'm the audit director for the FY19 audit engagement. This presentation is supposed to be presented by Dennis Olsich, but today is actually his birthday, so he's actually at home celebrating, and I'm in his place to present the audit report to you. So if you want, next is what we issued for FY19. We issued the audit opinion for our June 30, 2019 financial statement, also opinion on the single audit, highway user revenue report, the annual expenditure limitation report. In addition, we issued a letter which is called the communications to the government. And I will go over these reports in detail in the upcoming slides. So if you want to flip to the next,
Bless you.
well, first off, is the government communication. What this is, and I don't know if you actually have this letter in your packet, but this is where we communicate any significant audit findings, change in policies or assessment to you guys. So for audit year 2019, there was one GASB pronouncement that was adopted by the city, which is called GASB number 88, certain disclosure related to debt. When this was implemented, it actually doesn't significantly impact the financial statements significantly to the city. So we're disclosing this in letters letting you know that a certain standards was implemented. There were also significant estimates such as depreciation line, the estimates used to measure net pension liabilities, net pension OPA liabilities. We have evaluated the key factors and the assumptions of these estimates, and we're happy to report that these estimates were reasonable. There were also no difficulties encountered during the audit for the agreements with the management. We really appreciate all the city staff and that really helped us, and they cooperated in audit, so we were able to get this audit out in a timely manner. There were also no authorized new statements, although there were various material audit adjustments. These adjustments they occur annually, especially for your city. What we do is that we convert fund financial statements into a full accrual statement, which is also called the government-wide statement. And what that means is we added the capital assets balance, we add debt balance with the pension liability, the OPEB liability back from onto the fund statement. So when you look at the government-wide statement, it looks like a complete, just like a private company balance sheet or income statement. And so, in addition, we know that the city has issued like refunding debt this year. We also help in calculating the economic gains and the general management disclosure that refunding. And I can go into that later when I talk about financial statements in detail. And other opinions that we issued modified, which is an opinion, is the highest assurance that we could give as far as audit goes. So we did that to the financial statements, single audit, PERS, and the annual expenditure implementation report. If you want to go to slide 5, where it says annual financial audit, so this slide basically says, from the opinions that we issued, we
gave that clean opinion to the government on the business product fees, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information. We made reference to the auditor who audited the Housing Authority Enterprise Fund. Basically, we're saying that we're relying on their audit and we did not do any other additional audit procedures to that fund. If you want to go to the next slide, slide 6, I want to talk about our approach when it comes to FY19 audit. What we did is that we took a risk-based approach. What this means is we came in and we evaluate and understand the city's policy and procedures. Then we come up with areas that needed to be looked into in more detail, and 3 items were identified. So the first one is management override control, and the second one is revenue recognition. And these ones are actually standards when it comes to auditing. It's something that the auditing industry mandate us. We absolutely need to look into every year. So what we did to mitigate the management override controls is we looked at journal entries, looking for any overrides that occur out of place. And also for revenue recognition, we look at all the revenues were accounted properly. And I'm happy to say that there's really no concerns in both areas. The third one, which is refunding debt issuance, usually when a city refunds debt, it's quite complicated. So as far as accounting goes, and that's where we came in and we analyzed the official statements between the 2 debts, and we're saying that the city issued a 5.8 million new debt to refund a 5.5 million old debt. And in refunding it and shortening the lifetime of the debt, the city actually saved 4.27 million over the life of the new debt. If you want to go to the next page, slide 7. We want to talk about some of the significant changes that we noticed in this year's audit. Everybody was probably wondering how we're doing with pension. So for PSPRS, which is the police fire pension plan, the liability actually went up by $9 million. And it's not anything that the city did, because the city contributed the same amount of money and actually met the compliance requirement with the required contribution. It went up because there were some discount rate or investment rate of return that actually changed within the pension fund, and that's why the net pension liability went up. The pension liability actually went down for the ASRS pension plan, which is the everything out. For all the other city employees, they're included in this ASRS pension. It went down by $1 million. Other things that we know there, which what I talked about, refunding debt issues, and we're happy to say that for all these enterprise funds except for Nogales Housing Authority, they report a positive operating income, and that overall it looks like the city is in a very healthy financial position as far as FY19 goes. Any questions as far as financial?
Yeah, how much did you say that the pension went up for the PSR?
PSRS audit?
RS, yeah. How much did it go up? 9 million?
Yeah, it went up $9 million. It went
And
from,
again, you said it was nobody's fault. I mean, how can it go up $9 million?
you know, this is actually a good question, and I was kind of looking into it, and it has a lot to do how the pension affect the liability. And like I said, the city actually contributes the required dollar amount per year. And so I can dig a little bit into it and report back to you as far as like exactly why it went up $9 million. But the quick answer is that how the pension plan will perform during FY next year.
Mr. Mayor,
Just go ahead.
do you have a copy in front of you of the annual expenditure limitation report? Can you turn to page 53? It says there on page 53, at June 30th, 2019, the city reported a liability of $8,987,000 for its proportionate share of the ASRS net pension liability. So here it's saying that we have a liability of 8.9 million, and you word that out under pension liability, but then when we come over to page 60 and we start talking about the public safety personnel retirement system, the balance at June 30th, 2018, the total pension liability here says it's $30 million for the police, and for the firefighters, it's $26 million. So, it's not as rosy as what you're painting it right now, because the way I'm looking at it right now for the firefighters, for every dollar in wages, the city is contributing approximately 66 cents to cover the firefighters' pension, and for the police, to cover their pension, we're covering 62 cents approximately, and to cover the regular employees, it's costing us $1.12. So right now, even though it takes into account vacant positions, with the vacant positions, just for the police and the fire pension, this year, it's going to be in excess of $3.5 million, just for their pension. So I estimate by the year 2030, the liability for just the police by themselves, is going to exceed $4 million and probably another $4 million. So the reason I bring this up, Mayor, is because if this council doesn't start looking at another source of revenue, by the year 2030, who's ever mayor and council, they're going to have a serious financial problem with a pension of this public safety personnel retirement system. It's going to be a very serious financial burden on the city if the city doesn't start looking at additional revenue sources for this. And right now, the police and the fire, those two departments, when we talk about revenues, the two departments engulf our entire sales tax revenue.
Yes.
We have to depend upon shared sales tax, ERPA, from the state of Arizona to keep the rest of us going. So my question to you is, I want to make sure that I'm interpreting the data here correctly on page 60. Do I interpret it correctly that the balance forward of total pension liability, where it says assets, is it 30 million and 26 million for the firefighters?
Are you looking at the financial statements? Trying to look at what
Next time the guy wants to go on birthday deal, they said, well, I have to get somebody else. I'm looking at page 60 on the City of Nogales Annual Expenditure Limitation Report. Page 60. I just finished for the regular employees. They're on page 51. And 53, I refer to the pension liability of the Arizona State Retirement System. And it specifically says there that the city reported a liability of $8.9 million. So if we have that liability, and you put it down in your report, I want to make sure I understand what is the liability that the city of Nogales has under public safety for police and fire. Because if I'm interpreting this data, that's up to $56 million.
Just go ahead.
maybe Jeanette can help us answer some of Dr. Barona's questions. But Jeanette, could you help out answering some of the questions for Dr. Barona?
Yes, so referencing to page 16 that Dr. Barona is questioning, the total liability is the 61 million that you mentioned, Dr. Barona?
Yes, Ms. Perales.
And then if you look at the next column, that's what's currently been funded. And then your final column is the actual liability for both police and fire. The
So
15
Mrs. Perales, do I interpret then that what we owe right now, the city of Nogales owes on the pension liability is the column A minus B under net pension liability?
That's correct,
So that would be approximately $31 million?
yes.
So we right now have a $31 million liability just for the police and the fire, and we have approximately a $9 million liability for the regular employees.
That
Now,
is correct.
Mrs. Perales, did I misinterpret my analysis of in consultation with you on the city, for each dollar in wages for the fire we're paying, we have to contribute 66 cents and 62 cents for the fire and 12 cents for the regular employees?
Starting July 1st, yes, that is correct.
Okay, so you can see the differentiation that there is. Now, the liability right now that we have to budget for this year is approximately for the fire and police $3.4 to $3.5 million.
Yes. And that includes all positions, whether vacant or filled.
Okay. And as a forecast, so we can guide ourselves here, in 2030, would it be fair? Would it be a fair interpretation as we're building the budget, as we're trying to seek out and get ourselves through this financial crisis that we're in, and start building a source of revenue so the people in the community understand that we need a source of revenue, because in 2030, the liability for the public safety retirement for fire might be $4 million just for them, and another $3.5 to $3.9 million for the police, which is kind of going to be a double. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, but what mayor and council need to do between now and then, Dr. Barra, is to implement a plan to reduce that liability. Because state statute is requiring you to have the unfunded liability funded by 2035.
So, 2035. Okay. Are you talking about column B, the net position?
No, the last one, the A minus B.
Oh, the A minus B. Okay, so that kind of puts us in a predicament here, Mrs. Perales. How do we go about to do that? And because we're going to be taking a lot of that general fund to pay for that liability. That's why I brought out to the council this thing of Stone Garden, that I hope Mr. Kissinger comes up to a policy with us, because all of the Stone Garden is overtime. And all of that money that they're making, for every dollar that they make in overtime for the police, we have to contribute 62 cents on the dollar for them. So we need to understand as a council what our liability is here. We may not be here, okay? But it's not fair for future councils and mayors that we don't address this issue. That's what I want to point out. I don't want to leave at the end of December and saying, oh, okay, I'm out of here. It's not my problem anymore. We should be considerate in how are we going to do this. Are you going to come up with some recommendations, Mrs. Perales?
Prior to my departure, we were looking at possibly establishing a policy, but we found some challenges in doing that. But I will continue to move forward with trying to help the city address that problem.
Mrs. Perales, the total amount of the unfunded liability, is that owed by the city, or does the employee actually also give money into that?
So that's owned by the city, Councilman Canestel.
All of it, 100%.
Yes, sir. And just so, and the previous discussions with our auditor, he had mentioned to you, the way the system works is ASRS, which is the civilian employees, that liability is shared with everyone in the state of Arizona who participates in the retirement fund. But public safety is different, whereas, each entity is responsible for the liability. It's not shared with anybody.
So as we're, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
so, Mr. Kissinger, as we're working on, we need some recommendations on it, because this is escalating. We need policies on grabbing a hold of this overtime and how it's done. And that's why I'm trying to break it down so you can see the difference of how much we contribute for a policeman and a fireman and a Parks and Recreation work. And right now, you know, we're $8 million on one, the ASRS, which is a civilian, as Mrs. Peralta refers to, and the public safety, we're at $30 million pension liability. And we don't, look at where we're at right now. I mean, it's not fair to just say we're not gonna answer the question. We need to answer the question, and we need to discuss among ourselves, what additional revenue source can we get to help pay this off? So that's what I'm gonna be looking for Mrs. Perales and Mr. Kissinger to come in here and make some solid recommendations. Because we got, you know, we spend money, Mr. Mayor, on this, Councilman Diaz was a worker, is a part of it, on this, compensation study.
Yes.
But I think that's very important, but we need to address this pension liability, Mr. Kissinger. Because it's growing, and in 10 years, I'm not gonna be around here. But I don't wanna leave it a financial burden and have them say, well, nobody talked about this. So we need to address the issue of what we wanna do and how we're gonna lower this amount. And we just can't lower it unless we have another source of revenue. So,
There's two things. We put policies and plans not to increase it.
right,
And just like we did with insurance. Insurance, we had liability insurance. Council, very tough. It was very hard for them, but they were able to come up with policies that reduced our future liability. It wasn't easy, but they were able to do it. What I'm hearing from Dr. Verona is two things. One, put in policies to reduce,
yes,
increasing our future liability when it comes to our public safety. And two, find additional resources, that means money, right? Resources means money, additional revenue resources that come into the city to help pay that and offset it, so we're not cutting back services to put the money into the bank to pay off the, so those are two recommendations that staff can definitely put forward, but it's gonna take the help of all of us in this room to accomplish those goals.
Mrs. Perales, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Mrs. Perales, what were you saying right now that the federal government is requiring us to do what?
I'm sorry, it's an Arizona state statute that was
Okay.
passed.
Is trying to do what? I missed that. I was concentrating on something else.
The statute requires you to have the unfunded liability funded by 2035.
Okay, so that includes the civilian one and the public safety.
No, just the public safety.
Just
because
the public
remember,
safety.
the
So what-
public safety is the city's liability, it's not shared with anyone.
So right now, Mrs. Perez, what you're saying, that we have 15 years to work on policy, make decisions, because we gotta erase right now approximately, but it's probably gonna be higher, at least right now, $30 million. Is that fair to say?
Yes, and once you start addressing the unfunded liability, then potentially your contribution rate could go down.
Well, that would be very helpful though, too. Mayor, I just wanna bring that up to everybody, because,
No,
you know,
I
this thing.
understand, I understand.
The police chief, indicated when we talked about Stone Garden that he was gonna develop some policies to make sure that it didn't escalate. That's what I'm afraid of. You look at the city of Tucson, they stopped it because it was costing them too much money. Pima County stopped it because, well, we went along with it, but we went along with it, Mr. Kissinger, because the chief of police said that he was gonna work on some policy statements to go ahead and reduce that burden of liability. I wanna see the chief's recommendation on that issue. Okay, I don't want it to just fall on us. I wanna see staff come up with written recommendations on how we're going to address this issue. Mayor, I have some other concerns on the presentation, but we're finished with this.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, from the auditor, when we were talking right now about, there was another, these corrected misstatements. Could you explain to me what it means there? We had one corrected misstatement for $195,000 to properly record the change in fair market value, and another adjustment for $465,000 to accrue city sales tax revenue. Could you explain that to me, please?
Sure. So the $194,000 was to account for the unrealized gain that was recognized in the investment report. So at the end of the year, when we got the balance funds from the city, we noted that the city recognized the investment at its carrying value instead of at market value, which is $194,000. That's why we make the adjustment to increase the investment balance. And the other one, for sales tax, it was to accrue the additional sales tax amount that was received at the end of the year.
Okay, and on page 7 of the schedule of findings questions, on page 7 it says right there that we had a material weakness in internal control over financial reporting, and it says here that the cause for that is the finance department does not have the personnel to prepare the year-end financial statements and related disclosure for external reporting purposes. Is that correct, ma'am?
That's correct. So what happens is that usually when it comes to preparing financial statements, it will be the city's responsibility to prepare them, and as auditors, we will review them. However, it's been noted in the past couple, actually since 2017, that we were asked to prepare audit the financial statements for the city, and it turns out we have the proposed various adjustments, as I mentioned before, for the conversion from fund statements to the government-wide statements. So we needed to know that the control over financial reporting, because we are involved, it will be a material weakness for the city.
So that's a material weakness, and your recommendation is to have full oversight. And in order for us to have full oversight, is because we have to have that position. Why are the auditors making our statements? I don't understand that.
I think it would be a great question, and I think Mr. Weingarten and Jeanette can answer it when we have the financial presentation. I was speaking to Bernie about that earlier today, and I couldn't answer.
Okay.
I appreciate the question.
All right, and on page 10, ma'am, it says here, note 3 on the indirect costs. The city did not elect the 10% de minimis indirect cost rate. Could you interpret that for me? Are we not charging for the grants 10% for our neighbor of that? Is that what it, did I interpret that correctly?
No. Yeah, that's not what it means. That's actually a standard language for a single audit, for a grant audit. What it is that uniform guidance came out with the language that for all grants, it could be a 10% de minimis cost rate that the city could elect, or it could be a negotiated indirect cost rate in the city and the federal agency. So what happened is the city would have a negotiated rate between the federal then the city did not elect to do the default 10% rate. That's all it is.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. I noticed throughout your explanation on the statement of revenues and that you highlight that the city of Nogales is very, very prudent, very conservative in their overview of how they look at revenues. This is getting back to Mrs. Walker's explanation.
Yes.
We do this. She's telling us of things that we are doing right now, and you people are doing it extremely well. And that's what I wanted to highlight to make sure she verifies that. Is that correct, ma'am? Ma'am?
Yeah. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes I can. Now I can hear you. Thank you. Could you turn to page 37, please, ma'am?
And don't have the reporting package with
Oh,
me.
you don't.
What?
Okay, that's okay, ma'am. Don't worry. Jeanette, are you on page 37? Jeanette?
I'm here.
Ms. Peralez, could you turn to page 37, please?
Yes. I'm there.
In the middle there, it says here, under C, a deficit net position in the amount of 4.5 million was reported in the sanitation fund. The city does not expect to recover the deficiency in the upcoming fiscal year, but plans to increase customer rates and reduce costs in the future to reduce the deficit. So, Mr. Kissinger, here's what. We're $4.5 million in the red, in the sanitation fund. And now, we just finished raising rates, and you were very critical of that. Remember that, Councilman
Yes.
Diaz?
Yes.
Okay, now they're asking us to raise it again because we're still in debt. So I just want to bring that out for the council to prepare, because we are in debt. It's highlighted that we're in debt, and they want us to raise the rates. I'm not in favor, but something's got to be done. But I concur with you. Also here, did I interpret that, or am I misinterpreting that, Ms. Peralez?
No, you are interpreting that correctly.
Okay, and the other thing is that I noticed that planning it, the departments that overspent substantially was planning and zoning by $49,000.
Yes.
The facilities maintenance overspent by $19,000. The parks overspent by $7,000, and the recreation overspent by $14,000. How did this happen?
I believe planning and zoning was working on the general plan and then the code revision. So I think when they prepared the budget, there was some confusion on that, and so they might not have budgeted for both.
Okay, I just want to, Mr. Peralez, to make sure, because I know you do that very well, but I just want to make sure that this doesn't escape from us this next year, because we won't be able to do that. If we were doing these things in planning and zoning, they should have been properly budgeted for.
That's correct.
So,
I agree.
all right. Could you turn to page 44?
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure, are we done with this project here, the McNabb water line, the Perkins Avenue water line?
McNabb is completed.
Okay, because here it says we have a remaining commitment of $333,000, and I don't know. And then the Perkins Avenue water line, we have a remaining commitment of $1 million.
That's CDBG funds.
Yeah, but just tell me that we have the money, that's all I need to know.
Yes, that was through the CDBG grant.
Okay. And on page 47, that long-term obligations that we have with the sewer water, the last sentence there in the first paragraph says, the total principal and interest remaining to be paid on the bonds is $25,300,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we have another $25 million that we have to come up with. Is that correct? Is that fair to
Yes.
state?
Right.
See, there's more money that we owe right there. Another $25 million.
Which will be paid at the end of 2034, I believe.
Yeah, well, that's the same time that we owe for another 30 million for the pension liability and another, and we're behind on the water and sewer funds. We're doing projects. We're doing good projects, okay? I'm not critical of the projects. But what I'm trying to highlight to you, Mr. Kissinger, is you've got to have the intestinal fortitude to bring us where are we going to get additional revenues during this time. That's what we're depending on. That's what we're depending upon, what we wanted to hear from the other city managers, that we couldn't get it out. That's what we're looking. Now, I want everybody to understand, we are in a serious financial position. That's what I want everybody to understand as we're building this budget. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have anything to say? You okay? Is the presentation done? No? Okay, continue.
I have a couple more, if you allow me.
Go ahead.
So, I want to touch on the single audit, on page, actually slide number 8, which we lightly touched on earlier, we reported one material weakness, which is over financial reporting, but then there were no other significant deficiencies on internal control. So I just want to highlight that. That was the only one that we mentioned. We also, in the next slide, page 9, we also report on compliance for each major program and the over the internal control over compliance. This is on the grant specifically itself, and we're happy to say that there were no findings on the grants that we selected. We actually looked at, if you go to page 9, the grant that we selected for auditing, which is the Homeland Security Grant Program. This grant is $698,000 in expenditures in fiscal year 19. This is 70% of your total scheduled expenditures of federal awards. We also issued a modified, which is a claims opinion, and no other deficiency or material weakness over compliance. So the next 2 pages, which are the opinions over highway user revenue funds and annual expenditure limitations. On the highway user revenue funds, we looked at 25 samples of your accounts payable disbursements. We also selected 8 employees to look at their payroll and payroll-related disbursements, looked at the transfers, all of which are in compliance with the Arizona revised statute. So we issued a clean opinion as well, no findings. On page 12, over annual expenditure limitation report. So we reconcile the report addition and deduction to the audited financial statement, and we report that the city expenditures is actually below the expenditure limit by $15.1 million. And therefore, we issue a clean opinion and no findings. If we want to go into page 14, I want to take this opportunity and talk to you about our 2020 audit plan. So we have listed a timeline here, and right now we're really getting close to the preliminary field work, which we'll see that in June 2020. Our scheduled field work date is for the week of 15, and because COVID-19, we won't be doing the work on site, we will be doing it remotely. And everything has been coordinated with Jeanette and Bernie and the city staff for our arrival and our request. The goal is to issue the city's financial statements by November 2020. And our final field work is September. So a lot of work will be done in between September and November to get the city issued on target. Does anybody have questions on audit timeline?
No, the only thing, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to make a comment on page 12 on the annual expenditure limitation, bullet point 4. The city's expenditures, subject to the expenditure limit, fell below the limit by $15 million. Mrs. Perales, thank you for the good work you did for the city to keeping us that below on our expenditures.
Thank you, Dr. O. And I just want to add a little note as we were talking about sanitation.
Yes?
Your life, or the, we talked about the deficit, net position did drop from last year. Last year was 5.4 million.
Okay.
So that means that you did, were able to save some of the revenues to impact that deficit.
Well, thank you for that point, clarification, Ms. Perales, but here again, in 2035, the mayor and council are going to be subjected, I see here, between liabilities that we owe between 80 and $100 million in 15 years. So we need to start working on correcting that now and not putting it out for other people to solve this situation. We need to address it now.
And just another note, Dr. Butterman, the city does send in monthly payments for the bonds to
Yeah,
help
no.
address the principal and interest that's owed.
I realize that, but we can't, in fairness, Mrs. Perales, the reason we can't continue to just give our employees $500 every December as a bonus.
That's true.
We can't continue to do that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you
Yes.
for the compliments. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I've concluded, I think we're finished.
Are we done?
Yeah, the last two slides of the upcoming GASB pronouncements, which I shouldn't have that because COVID-19, GASB allowed a 1-year delay on implementing for these pronouncements. So it's actually a good relief, especially when it comes to GASB 87 releases, because it does require a lot of time and effort going into reading all of these and determine whether or not it needs it. So just want to highlight that for the council. And that will conclude my presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you, Bernie. Number 4, discussion items. Discussion, direction, and possible action, 4th of July event. I placed this on the agenda, members of the city council, for your discussion, to see if we're going to be proceeding with the 4th of July event. Just go ahead, Councilman.
My personal opinion is that it's not a good idea to do it. Right now is not the time. This COVID is getting worse. It's
Yes.
not getting any better.
Yes.
So any kind of event that groups, if you say it's going to be only a few people, forget it. We don't understand that right now it's a big problem that we have. So my opinion is that we shouldn't have it.
Yes. Yes, go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to respond to Esther Morales, Councilwoman Esther Morales' comments, that if you interpret the data, there's no way.
Councilman, Esther Lopez.
Esther Lopez. What did
You
I
said
say?
Morales.
I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
No, that's all right. That's
Thank
it.
you. Councilwoman Esther Lopez. Melendez. If we interpret her comments and get the data that she makes reference to, you have to agree. You have to agree. I think that the only way that you can look at having the fireworks is to what Dr. Fauci says from the CDC. We have to look at the line going down and flattening. If it's not doing that and it's going in the opposite direction, going up here in our community,
Yes.
why would we want to have an event that's going to attract people that, who's going to monitor the social distance? I don't know who's going to do that. So I concur with her, you know, we're all very patriotic people, but the comment is, it's not appropriate right now. And I don't want to endanger people. And we're saying to the people, especially with a future policy that Mr. Kissinger is recommending, who's gonna monitor for masks outside? Who's gonna do all that? Well, so then I don't think it's appropriate to have it right now.
Yeah, well, I feel the same way. I've been thinking about this since the day that I was asked by staff that we had to make a move on purchasing the fireworks, because otherwise we would lose the opportunity. This was about 2 weeks ago. And at the time I said, yeah, well, go ahead, do it, to see what was happening. But since then, we've gone from shy of 200 to 425 cases, and now we have one death. And it's climbing by the day, not 1 or 2 a day. They're like 71, 50 a day, so high, it's going up and up and up. So in the past years, the 4th of July event at Ron Turley has attracted close to 10,000 people in the park. So if you look at it this way, you don't have the park, you just have the fireworks. I can assure you that the parking lot of Walmart, Home Depot, the Oasis, all of them are going to be crowded looking at the fireworks. So I also agree that I think, and you said it, we're very patriotic, and this is our Independence Day, but it's something that I think we have to take care of our citizens and look at that before anything. I don't foresee the numbers going lower, even though they said that the summer would help, level this out, but we've been at 100 degrees for the past 2 weeks, and I don't see anything leveling out. And I can't even tell by the information that I have where it's coming from. Is it travel from Nogales, Sonora to here? Is it travel from Tucson to here? Are they parties going on? It's hard to tell. But one thing I know, it's being transmitted, and I think we better, I myself recommend that we better, postpone 4th of July for this year. And Mr. Kissinger, on the fireworks,
Yes, sir, Mr.
postponing the fireworks, I know that we're in with some money already in that.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Could
Mayor.
you explain, please?
Yes, sir. And myself and my too here, we had a deadline to order the fireworks to make sure that we got them on time. That deadline had passed way before our curve started flagging. We made the decision to purchase the fireworks for this year, thinking that at the very least we can shoot off fireworks and not have the social event down at the field. However, I'm hearing from the council, and I totally agree, that shooting off the fireworks could have the effect of getting people to not abide by the social distancing, and we could have parking lots and other places packed with people. I agree with the council's comments and recommendations not to even hold the fireworks. If we cancel it, which we can, and Marcel can weigh in here, I'm not sure on the date that we can cancel those fireworks, we would lose approximately half of what we spent, approximately $6,000, and the other half will be credited towards next year's event. So I just want to make sure that we're all aware of the impact of the decision. However, I think that no dollars worth potential spread of this, this virus. So I totally agree with the comments that have been so far. Marcel, did I state that right? Marcel, you there?
John, was the full amount already paid?
No.
Yeah.
The full amount is paid.
I believe we paid the full
No, the contract said that we had to pay by
July 24th.
And then after the fireworks, we pay the other half.
Can you hear me? Yes, Marcel, we can hear you now. Thank you. Could you correct me if I was wrong on that, Marcel?
I know Mike may have the contract in front of him, I'm not sure.
The balance of the contract price within 20 days after the completion of the fireworks and due by July 24th, 2020.
Correct, but before that, I believe within 30 days of the actual event, I believe at most, we might be on the hook for 10% of what the deposit is. We might be able to even get off completely, but I will double check with the company at this point in time. So I think we might be able to kind of sneak under the radar here a little bit and have minimal impact as far as that's.
And Marcel, if you could, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead, Councilman.
And Marcel, Mr. Bachelier, if you could ask them, because they also point out here on their COVID explanation that they're having a hard time getting the fireworks from China. So ask them, maybe they couldn't get all of these fireworks for the presentation, and maybe that'll help to induce them to lower it. But you get the same company every year, is that correct?
That's correct.
So we do business with them all the time, so maybe we can work something out, and maybe they couldn't get all of the fireworks from China anyway.
So having the decision made tonight helps us move forward.
Yes.
And now we know exactly that we're not going to be shooting off fireworks, we're not gonna have an event, we're not gonna have a parade. Correct?
Mayor?
Yes,
They
yes.
do the parade.
And so
Yes.
we can plan accordingly, going forward.
Yeah, so well, let's make a motion on this, so we can make, yes, do I have a motion not to
I have
have?
a motion to cancel the 4th of July.
Completely. Complete
Okay.
parade and fireworks.
Parade, everything,
Yeah,
the
everything.
whole
That's
thing,
what
the whole thing.
festivities including the
Yeah, the whole
parade.
thing.
To order the staff to immediately tomorrow, within 30 days, to see if they can
Yes,
cancel tomorrow.
to get-
Right, so
Yes.
Mr. Maldonado, you seconded it? Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Second, I have a second, I even had a third by Councilman Diaz.
It'll also help our benchmark.
Yes. So, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Marcel, so you can contact these people, I guess, the sooner the better, huh?
Yes, I will actually send her an email here and I'll call her in the morning.
Thank you, Marcel.
So I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kissinger.
Stay tuned, Marcel.
Okay, B, discussion, direction, possible action, opening up ballparks, soccer fields, baseball courts, tennis courts, playground equipment, and public restrooms. This was placed by Councilman Maldonado.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Okay, well, as I'm not sure if you people heard, Little League, as of yesterday, canceled the season completely. It was a board decision.
I think it was a good move.
And however, there's people, in the community asking for not games, but parks to be open, because apparently, everybody's scrounging with what to do with the kids at home no more. Is there something we can do? Mr. Massey, I know you've been going back and forth with Marcel on liabilities and stuff like that, and we would open, we got soccer leagues, AYSO, the veterans and all that. I don't agree on having games. That is totally uncontrollable. But, I see the park at Meadow Hills is being used. Just people going there in the afternoons, training, running, and kids running around and all that. Is that park not closed?
Which
Oh.
park?
The one on the bottom, right, going into the main entrance
Oh,
of Meadow
you're
Hills?
talking about the park.
Park.
It's not a field on the
Yeah,
baseball
yeah,
field.
park.
Oh, yeah. It's
Okay.
kind of like the park downtown, it's open too.
Yeah, so,
People walk around
so
in-
people question, why is this and not
Yeah,
those?
it's different because, let me read you this in the guidelines of principle. I think you all got this.
Uh-huh.
And it's very simple. It's got 5 points, 5 risk points. Okay, the lowest risk point, listen to this. Performing skill building drills or conditioning at home, alone or with family members. Because with family members, you're more secure. Increase risk, team-based practice. More risk within team competition. Even more risk, full competition between teams from the same local geographic area. High risk, full competition between teams from different geographic areas. Basically, they're all risk. It doesn't matter, you know. And I guess the only safest one is you practicing with your brother and your dad at home. But the minute you open a field, I don't know who's going to control it. Are we going to be responsible? And honestly, I don't think as a city we should be responsible for something that you know, the father and son and play at home and stuff like that. But the minute we allow them to go play at the field on a Saturday morning or Sunday or whatever, we're not going to be looking at. I don't know if recreation is going to be looking at them, Mr. Kissinger.
Mr. Mayor, our parks, we have open spaces.
Yes.
The Cheetah's an open space
Yes.
park. The front here's an open space. Meadow Hills is an open space. And then we have some ball fields. Currently, we schedule teams for practices and other youth sporting events or sporting type activities on our field. We have suspended doing that. We don't schedule any practice or games or anything. The question is, do you want to start scheduling that? And if you do, under what conditions? Staff recommendation currently is that we don't open up and schedule these games. However, it's brought to the, on the agenda, and so I took the liberty to do two things. I brought you the CDC recommendations on how you could possibly do that. Not to mean that you can do it, but how you could possibly do it. Staff recommendation to mayor and council is, if the mayor and council decides for us to open up these ballparks, that staff ensures that two things, that the person in charge of this organization, whichever one it might be, follows the CDC recommendations and presents a plan to the city on how they're going to accomplish that. I think that's a fair deal. And these are very hard to follow if you read them.
I read them all.
If you read them all,
Yeah.
Mayor,
I mean, you got to be wiping every ball, every bat,
exactly.
everything.
So it's very difficult.
Yeah.
In addition, if mayor and council chooses to have us open these fields for scheduled youth sporting events, I reached out to risk pool, and they provided language that would need to be signed by whoever's using this that reduces our liability for opening up these fields. Again, staff's recommendation at this time, Mr. Mayor, is that we don't open them up at this point. However, I'll defer the decision to.
Well, I can understand, like we're talking about the parks like the Chea and downtown and all the parks that we have. Those are common areas. Those are, people will walk through there. It's just like walking on the sidewalk, you know. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Messi, when you get together with teams and you start touching each other, touching the gloves, touching the balls, it doesn't matter, you know, water bottles, everything. It is kind of, I don't know if you read this, Mr. Monroe. It's kind of hard to follow it, you know, and I you know, I don't feel comfortable
You know,
with it myself.
Mayor, you know, in baseball with Little League, you know, each kid had to have a helmet. Each umpires had to be 6 feet away from the pitcher's mount in the back. Couldn't get close. The older kids, there was going to be no tagging at first, because the first baseman couldn't be at the base to get the ball from the pitcher to tag him out or anything. There were so many rules and changes that, you know,
That's why you decided not to.
That's why, plus, you know, but people, like, right now, we have the gym open, the basketball gym. You know, people.
But under very strict restrictions. Marcel, could you talk to them a little bit about the gym being open, which the governor asked to have gyms open, but under restrictions, and those restrictions are pretty tight. Marcel, could you speak to the council on those restrictions?
Yes, so, you know, that came as a pretty direct, order by the governor a couple of weeks ago. And we do have, very strict, measures in place that control the use of that facility. We have a total of 6 baskets that are available for, individuals to shoot at individually. They need to bring their own, basketball. They can't, play amongst themselves unless they are from the same household. But we're restricting that to a total of no more than 3
Yes.
from the same household. You know, we have spaces that are separated by 6 feet, so when they come in, they put their equipment down. They're separating their personal equipment. There are temperature checks. We do ask them questions about, if they feel well, if anybody's been sick, have they traveled. And in the event that we actually have an overflow, we are rotating, those groups out at the hour. So they do check in as they come in, and, in the event that we have more than 6 at a time, at the next hour, we'll, ask them to leave, we'll sanitize the gymnasium, and then we'll let the next group of 6 people.
Marcel, do you have enough staff to perform those same type of activities on your ball field?
Absolutely not. We do have cameras in the gym, so that really does help us quite a bit. I forgot to mention that everybody's required to wear a face covering. We've had some of the kids kind of slack off on that a little bit, but we're able to catch that and bring it to their attention. But definitely not, we don't have the resources to be able to do that at all our facilities.
Thank you, Marcel.
Thank you, Marcel. So, members of the council, make a decision, a motion. Do I have, Vice Mayor, do you have anything to say?
No, I think that we should not open yet. You know, it's not safe enough to open, and we don't have the personnel to monitor those places.
Mr. Maldonado?
No, my question is, you know, and through legal is, do we have to be monitoring, you know, if we open it?
And Mayor and members of
Go ahead.
council, I too checked with our risk pool, and they don't have any recommended policies, you know, as far as something like this. A lot of different cities are doing it differently. They do obviously refer to the CDC guidelines. I would say that as far as a risk perspective, as far as actually exposing the city to legal liability, I don't see that as a strong issue here. And so I would just recommend for council to do what they feel is right from a safety perspective on behalf of the community. But it's not so much as risk avoidance from a lawsuit, because also I think, as I've mentioned before, when the city council takes a vote and adopts policy, that's likely to be viewed as fundamental policy, legislative decision, and therefore there is immunity under the statutes for those fundamental policy decisions, and this is likely to be one of those. So I wouldn't say that council should look at this from a legal liability avoidance necessarily issue, but just from a safety issue on behalf of the public as a whole.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. Maldonado, you wanna make a motion?
Well, my motion would be, you know, I know it's hard, but I've been, you know, I think it's people, especially kids, they want to get out. Their families have been asking to get out, and if, you know, the city would open the parks on individual or their own risk, just like the other parks are open, which are different called names, you know, one's a baseball field, the other one's a family with no restrictions, gathering, you know, like our Cachea Park or the one down in Morley and the one in Meadow Hills. I make the motion to open parts at their own risk. And I got my answer. I thought.
Hearing none. Sorry, Mr. Maldonado, but I know how it is, but it's just like me. Everybody told me, shoot the fireworks, Mayor. And it's kind of hard, so there's going to be a lot of people disappointed in me today, because there's not going to be any fireworks. But this isn't something that we didn't bring upon ourselves. We have to take care of the citizens, and I understand your feelings. So that dies.
Yes, Mayor, you can declare it. Yeah, the motion dies for lack of a second.
Yeah. Motion dies, like I was saying.
Safety
Oh,
first.
thank you.
Yes. Number 5, reports. Report of water main break of April 11, 2020. What did you bring for that, John?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is the report that was requested by you at last meeting on this agenda. We put on the agenda. In your packet, you'll see a memorandum that Mr. Public Works Director, Mr. Barcelos, provided for you. I hope you all had a chance to read it. Mr. Barcelos is available on the hangouts up here if there's any specific questions.
Yes, please get Mr. Barcenas to come on.
Alejandro, can you unmute your mic? I think the mayor has a question for you, sir.
Yeah, I'm right here, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We can hear you fine. Thank you.
Mr. Barcenas, I read the memo. I read the process that you went through the days that the city was without water. But there are two things that were not on your memo. Why did you allow the tanks to empty? And how much did it cost the city?
The tanks were not empty because of the leak. The tanks were empty because we were not able to provide water to refill the tanks. The water got control of being spilled, and we couldn't put new water into the tanks. And the consumption was really high at the time because we had one tank down, so one line, main line down to, so the combination was, I think that's why the tanks were down, not because it was leaking, because we could not fill the tanks from the wells.
No, but Mr. Barcenas, couldn't you have stopped when you noticed that you were dropping on the scale on your alarm for the tanks? Couldn't you have stopped that from continue leaking and draining the tanks?
Mr. Mayor, we don't have an alarm. We receive a report, like my memo says, from the police department at 1:30 in the morning. And we responded to that almost immediately. They called people, they start checking into that, and really denied. We found one of the leaks, and then continued to see that the water was going down. And the next day, we found the second leak, and we controlled that. But you remember those days were kind of warm, and without being able to fill the tanks, the consumption was lower in the tank to the point that the pressure went completely down.
Mr. Barcenas, you're not answering the question. What I said, so if the PD called you, they called you why?
Because there was no water on the.
Okay, let's start right there. They called you because there was no water. But why? You do have a system that tells you that the tank and the water in the tank is dropping. Yes or no?
We don't have an alarm control system that we go and check in the computer. We can see that the tanks are going down, and that's exactly what we did. We saw that the tanks were going down, so immediately we tried to locate where the grates were widened and
So you mean to tell me that if you don't find a leak, you just allow all the water of the city drain into the wash? There's no system for you to turn the water off from that tank to prevent it from draining completely and then having for you to wait 4 days to fill them up to give the proper pressure for the rest of the city? Because that's what happened. You allowed the tanks to drain, and then it took you days to fill them up and then get enough pressure for the citizens of Nogales. Okay, so if that happened, you didn't have anybody that turned the water off and allowed the tank, so the tank wouldn't drain?
Where the water was stopped from the break, and that you cannot fill the tanks again because the water was shut off.
Okay, I'll take that answer. Wasn't much of an answer. Now, how much do you think we lost? Money-wise?
And gallons?
Money. I know how many gallons there was. What do you think it cost the city to throw all that water away?
What we paid is for the water and the cost of pumping, we paid about $3 for every acre feet of water, which is 335,000 gallons. So that's what we paid the state, plus the pumping costs, and I don't know exactly what that is.
Yeah, but how much money is it, Mr. Barcenas?
How much money is, what's where I didn't hear you.
What was that?
Can't hear you.
I didn't hear what much money was for what. What was your question on the money?
How much money did we lose? I know the gallons. You're telling me acre feet. Tell me a number.
In gallons? I think we lost probably 3 million gallons.
You know what? John, what I need is a report on how much money we lost on this, please. I know it was a lot of money. I don't think he understands what I'm saying. And also, I need a report why the valves weren't shut down. Because if your tanks are dropping and your computer's telling you that you're losing flow and you're losing volume on a tank, you should be able to stop it until you find the leak. So it doesn't take you 3 days to fill it up again. That's what happened. The memo that I got is simple. I mean, anybody could have run that memo. That's not what I want. I don't want the process of what you did to get it going. That's why I told you, I wanted to know why we went through that 4-day crisis of water in the middle of the COVID and on a holiday, on a weekend. Because that will give us an idea of what we need to do in the future for that to never happen again. So I think the best thing to do, John, is give me the numbers on everything, please. And the members of the council the same thing. Thank you, Mr. Barcenas.
Welcome, President.
B, discussion, direction, possible action of the City of Nogales COVID-19 guidelines to reopen. Mr. Kissinger.
Mr. Mayor, when I prepared this guideline, it was approximately at the same time that the governor of the state of Arizona rescinded the stay-at-home order and opening up businesses and giving local jurisdictions the responsibility to check with their local health department opening up. I did check with our local health department and found that they don't have any recommendations and they're recommending it right back to the state. So it's a vicious circle when you look for those types of recommendations. I did prepare the best plan going forward on what reopening, when I say opening, that means opening the front door to the public there. I did present a plan for each department I believe that, since we closed the front doors to the general public out in front of the city hall, we have been able to provide the, very good level of service. Our revenues, coming in for people paying water and utilities have not dropped, significantly. People are paying online, they're paying, they're taking care of business. Again, Mr. Mayor, I bring it to the attention of the council to make a decision, but staff's recommendation, tonight is that we do not open up, our building to the general public.
I agree with you, Mr. Kissinger, also, these numbers continue to increase, and I never expected to be above 400, never did I expect to be above 400. So, us being at 400, what, that puts us at number 1 in the state, per capita? Where are we at? We're kind of high up there, aren't we?
I believe so, sir. The whole numbers game, it's, you can make it whatever you want.
Yeah.
You want to do it for testing, per capita, Point is, you see every day, they're putting 71 new cases, got our first death. I think that a conservative approach at looking at this is the best course of action for the mayor and council to take, to help stop the spread of this virus.
Because if I'm not mistaken, I think came out today that the state had 109 hospitalizations on Monday alone. 1,000? 1,009? Oh boy, yeah. No,
So there's a lot
I
of,
support you on that.
there's a lot of numbers that can be thrown around. How many available hospital beds do you have and everything?
Yeah.
Well, the problem is we have 0 because all of our patients, would be shipped up to
Tucson.
So,
Yeah.
you just gotta look at it I send you guys a number every night, and I hope you're all getting it.
No, and I want to thank you on that because I think
Appreciate it.
that's important.
And so you can make your own, decisions on what's going on. It's not a matter, it's gonna be just a matter of, unfortunately, it'll be just a matter of time that we're going to control it a little bit more locally.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'm very concerned, that, some of our employees become infected, and what's that gonna look like?
Yeah.
What decisions are we gonna make then? Are we going to isolate them and their co-workers? Are we just gonna isolate them?
Yeah.
Are we gonna try to make a decision, whether they were in close contact with or without the protective mask? That what we're gonna make our decision on. These are very tough decisions, and we're in a very tough time with a virus that nobody in the whole country really knows what to do.
Yes.
So we're taking our decisions on the fly. I mean, we just made a decision tonight not to open up on Broadway. I know how much that hurts the councilman to say that because you're right, these kids need something to do. But at what cost? So you just gotta weigh everything. I know whatever decision you all make tonight, you'll make the right decision, and we'll work on this together.
Thank you very much.
Motion to accept the recommendations of Deputy City Manager Kissinger for his coronavirus guidelines to reopen all the city's public facilities for a period of 30 days.
Not to open.
Not to open.
Yes, not to open. Well, your guidelines to reopen is not to open. Those are your guidelines. Okay?
So the guidelines I put together are guidelines if we were to open. So you're asking me, we've implemented many of those guidelines except for opening the front door. But what I'm hearing from you in your motion, and I hope this is what your motion is that you're motioning that we do not open up city facilities to the general public, and we keep the same
Guidelines.
guidelines that we have
Yes.
now.
Right, correct. That is your recommendation. I said
That's
that.
my recommendation, you do not at this point open up our city facilities to the general public.
for a period of 30 days, and then you come back to the record.
I think definitely go 30 days.
Second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Kissinger. Mr. Bojorquez, Vice Mayor, could you take this, please? Number 6.
Okay. Item number 6, liquor license. Consideration possible action of liquor license 2020-10.
Second.
Discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 7, orders. A, consideration and possible action of order 2020-06-029.
So moved, Vice Mayor.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Yes, sir. Yes, Council.
could you please read the order what it's for so the people will understand what we're voting on?
Sure will. Okay. An order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, appointing an acting city manager as of June 3rd, 2020.
Okay, and then the motion, we're under discussion then, that this motion, to make sure that the public understands, is to appoint Mr. Kissinger as the acting city manager.
That's correct.
Call for the question.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Item B, consideration and possible action of order 2020-06-030.
So moved, Vice Mayor.
Well, read the,
An order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, supplementing the 80 hours of emergency paid sick leave portion of the Families First Coronavirus Response Act with an additional 80 hours of emergency paid sick leave. Discussion. Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that this is a supplement of 80 hours for anybody, any of our employees that so happens, unfortunately happens, that has a coronavirus, that has to be hospitalized or has to be quarantined. The federal government, through the CARES Act, gives the employee right now 80 hours as of April the 1st. And I think it's a good gesture on our behalf that we match those 80 hours as a community so that the employee, especially our frontline workers, the people collecting the garbage, the people on the fire department, the individuals in the police department, that they feel comfortable that we've got them covered for basically a month's time before they would have to draw into their vacation time or their sick leave. So I really think that this is a very good gesture on behalf of the city to match those 80 hours by the federal government. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Didn't we talk about this resolution before?
I had previously brought it up and asked for the resolution, and the mayor concurred, and Mr. Massey and Mr. Kissinger developed.
Go ahead.
On discussion.
What we passed before was providing the same coverage of the Corona First Act to March 27th.
Okay.
So we covered that. This is an addition, this is going to April 1st forward to the end of the year,
Okay.
giving an additional 80. So we put it from, we accepted from March, right, to June 1, and this one takes us from June 1 all the way.
All right, thank you for the explanation.
So that's why you're seeing it twice.
Did you need a second
Yes.
on the motion? Did somebody second the motion?
One second.
What is the effective date of this, Mr. Massey?
The effective date of the order is immediately.
Immediately.
Yes, there's no delay on it. What do you mean?
Didn't it go into effect April 1?
Oh, the act went into effect April 1.
No, this resolution, I'm talking, I know the April 1 is the federal one, but our matching takes effect upon approval?
Yes.
Okay.
I just got, well, discussion?
So it'll be eighty
Yeah, we're
hours
still in
from
discussion.
federal, and we're just gonna match those 80 hours.
Right.
Well, it's going to be an additional 80 hours. And so, once it passes, if anyone qualifies as a person who is suffering coronavirus type illness, if they need to, they can take up to 160 hours of sick leave
So
paid.
we're doubling them now.
Yes, we're doubling.
Matching.
So we're,
The-
well, okay, yeah, with 80 hours from the federal and 80 hours from us would be
160.
Right.
Right, but 80 hours from the federal is a little bit misleading, just so that you're aware, because we, being a small city, are not eligible, or actually no city in county, we're not eligible for reimbursement of this benefit the way private industry is. They can take it off of their payroll taxes. So this is a mandated benefit. It's an unfunded mandate of 80 hours from the federal government. And so what the motion before council is, that council not only obviously in compliance with the federal act, we're offering that benefit of 80 hours to the employee. Now we're going to extend it to 160. But you have to be qualifying in order to even access that. You know, you have to be sick, or you have to be directly caring for someone who is sick.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
Mike, I just want to make sure that we're all
Uh-huh.
on the same page. The way I crafted the order
Uh-huh.
was to mirror the conditions of the Family versus Corona Response Act
Yes.
by, for eligibility.
Right.
So it's mirrored under the eligibility, but it does give an additional 80 hours city, but the eligibility for this position starts April 1st, not April 3rd. So, I
No,
know,
it's-
I know we might have to split hairs, but I just want to make sure that even when we pass it tonight, right, I think we're, in other words, it's retroactive. Yeah, to the April 1st, which is 3 days, but I don't even think we might have a case, so it might be irrelevant.
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Kizzer, I just want to make this, I hope you can explain to your staff, the entire staff, that this is something that the community thinks is the right thing to do. And you send out a policy statement about wearing masks. And I see it's a lot of employees that don't wear masks. So the community is showing good faith to make sure that they're taken care of. They can at least, without having, breaking that policy, take into consideration the goodwill of the people of this community, that they should always be wearing those masks. Because when I don't see them wearing the mask, when we do this as a community, it doesn't feel good.
Social distancing is very important too.
All for the president.
Which should be the example.
Go ahead.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Number C, consideration possible action of order 2020-06-031.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Second. Discussion? Yes, go ahead, Councilman.
You will read it, what it is?
Yes, what it is, it's the order of Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, appointing 2 new members to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Who are the
The members,
members?
member number one will be
Miguel Lopez.
Miguel L. Lopez. Number 2, Oscar Eduardo Santa Cruz.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we had 2 motions already. This is going on the 3rd one.
Call for the
Call for
question.
the vote then.
Call
Let's
for the
go for the
question.
question then. All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Resolutions, number 8. A, consideration possible action of resolution R 2020-06-006.
So move, Mayor.
Mr. Massey,
Yes, is there a
Second.
second first of all?
second. Okay, discussion.
Yes, and Mr. Mayor, please refer to a handout that was provided to each council member in their respective locations. They're not all on the dais. But the resolution in the packet material was inadvertently inadequate because this actually includes language which is going to be on the ballot. And so the official title of the document that is in front of you, so I'm asking that this document be the document that you refer to in replacing the other resolution, R 2020-06-006 from the electronic packet material. At any rate, going about halfway down the first page, you have something there that's called official title. And what was submitted as part of the agenda, it says a resolution of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, and it stops there. And so what you see in the replacement resolution is a resolution of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, proposing an amendment to the city charter to replace outdated language regarding the governing body. And that's important because that is actually something that will be on the ballot. So I just wanted to correct that error. And with that, Mr. Mayor, the actual amendment itself is fairly self-explanatory. It is just a direction essentially to our code editors, the municipal muni code that hosts the charter and the city code on their website. What we'll do as part of a complete planned revision of the city charter and the city code that will take place in the year following the general election this year in November. The direction will be wherever they are used in the city charter, the phrase Board of Aldermen is hereby replaced with City Council, and quote alderman is replaced with quote member of the City Council. So that the City Council has been, or the City Charter, excuse me, has been amended several times. The most recent charter amendments dating back to the charter amendment of 2000 that went to the council manager form of government consistently uses City Council as the name of the governing body of the City of Nogales. But the older language that goes back to 1926 and the other provisions of the charter refer to the governing body as the Board of Aldermen. And it just seems right to let's just call it one or the other. And I think everyone knows this body as the City Council. And so we're going to just remove Board of Aldermen, although there's already language in the charter from the 2000 amendment that says wherever Board of Aldermen is used, we're going to understand that to be City Council. This will actually change the language. And so if the council approves this resolution, what the effect of that is that this question will be referred to the people and will be placed on the ballot at the general election on November 3rd.
Okay. Ready?
Call for
Okay.
question.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Messi. B, consideration possible action of resolution R 2020-06-007. Mr. Messi?
So move. So move.
Second.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of council, again.
Point of order, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, could you please read it for the people so they know?
Okay, yes. A resolution of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, referring an amendment to City Charter
renumbering its sections.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. This is again a proposed charter amendment that is more in the way of housekeeping, but in my discussions with the municipal code editors and their attorney that they have on staff, my desire is to make the charter more user-friendly and actually more usable and more amenable to future amendments by future city council, to make it more of a living document by taking all of the sections of each chapter, and we start with section 1 of chapter 1, and then when you go to chapter 2, you'll start again with section 1 of chapter 2. And so it's chapter and section, chapter, section. And that way, if you revise or delete or repeal sections, you're not renumbering the entire charter. So right now we have sections that have been repealed, and those sections are still in the charter. They're just there as repealed. And then we have another section that is section 23A. We have a section 23, 23A, 24. Somewhere along the way, somebody wanted to insert something, and it became 23A. This way, everything gets renumbered and it gets more methodical, and and I think it just is consistent with how I've seen other city charters, and also it's consistent in a general way with how the Arizona revised statutes are numbered, with new sections from each title, not each chapter, but with each title. And so I hope this is just another housekeeping type issue. But in speaking with the attorney from the municipal code, I asked, could I get the authority to do this just by taking it to city council, and ask city council to say, pass an order to just renumber the sections of the charter, not addressing anything substantive in the charter, just the numbering. And she thought, it really needs to go to the vote of the people. It's something more than what the city council itself can choose to do. So that's what is driving this resolution in front of you at this point.
Okay, perfect. Any discussion?
What a question.
Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. C, consideration, possible action, a resolution R 2020-06-008, a resolution of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, referring an amendment to City Charter Section 7.2 regarding council agenda request.
75.2.
75.2, Jesus. Okay.
So moved, Mayor.
I wanted to see if Mr. Varona caught that.
We have a motion.
Yeah,
and
motion.
vote.
Second.
Is there a second? Okay.
Second.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Massey.
Yes, sir.
Over there, it says, oh, here it is, I'm sorry. It's under descriptive title. The Nogales City Charter Amendment allows one member of the city council to place an amendment. I don't feel comfortable where it says allows one member.
Okay.
I'm kind of, I don't want to get into argument, or somebody else says, only one member can put an agenda on an item on the agenda. I would feel better if the word one was changed to allows any member of the city.
I have no objection to that.
Okay, we can.
The idea is right now, under the procedure set out in the current version of the charter, it requires 2, and so the descriptive title could be any member, and that's fine. That's also very clear. And so I guess we need to make a motion to amend the resolution and have that motion first, Mayor.
Motion to amend the main motion under descriptive title to change the word one to any.
Second.
I And do you members of the council agree with that? Discussion.
And
Yes.
let me bring one item up to the to Councilman Verona. One to Annie on the descriptive title. I don't know if you want to also say at the end of the resolution where it will also be this language on the ballot. A yes vote shall have the effect of approving the procedure for one member. Do you want to change that also to any member of the council?
Yes, to any member.
So, just to be consistent, if you're going to change it one to any, let's do it in both places.
I have a
Yes,
question.
go ahead.
Right now, it was just subject to one person, one member,
Two.
two members. In this
It
new
takes
one,
two, or you can either come to the mayor and then request the agenda to be placed, and then it's only one, which is the mayor,
Mhm.
and by the request. But if you want to, if you feel that you're not getting the agenda item on there, you can get two councilmen to bring it to have it placed on the agenda. That's what it is.
Did we vote on that?
No,
No.
I haven't seen that we voted
No.
on the
No.
amendment yet, no.
We're still in discussion. We're still in discussion. So that's what it is. So it's two right now. It's been like that since 1926. And Mr. Varona wants to change it. He thinks that I don't put agenda items on for him when he
Well, it was
when he
more of a
requested.
struggle with your predecessor, I'll tell you that.
Well, your predecessor's not around. No, but you know what? I don't mind. I don't mind. If you wanna put an agenda item yourself, that's all right. The only thing is that the way I look at it is when you put an agenda item yourself, your name will be attached to that agenda item, and you will represent that agenda item, and you will make the motion for that agenda item.
Okay.
And that, that, to me, it doesn't matter. You can come through me, or you can go through the city manager to get it placed on the agenda. Or you can go through the city clerk.
So, we do need to have the motion and the second and the amendment voted on though, Mayor.
Yes, yeah, I was just discussing it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You
You
make the
need an
motion?
amendment.
We made it.
Yeah,
Yes,
motion to amend
yes,
from one to any in two different places.
okay. And now you have to make a motion.
Well, it's been moved and seconded.
Second.
Now we're ready to vote.
We're ready to
Oh,
vote.
yeah.
Okay.
Call it. But this is a vote just on the amended language.
Yeah.
Yes,
Then we'll have a vote on the main motion.
okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, so the amended language is now part of the resolution, and then the question before the council is, does the council vote to refer the resolution to the vote of the people?
Yeah, that's the main motion,
That's the main
but
motion.
I'm not finished with my amendment.
Oh, okay, pardon me.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
Now, the other thing is,
Come on.
Mr. Matthews, instead of, I understand the 1 week, that's okay, but on our agendas, we have future agenda items. If a member brings up a future agenda item during the meeting, why does he have to go back and give written notice? And why does he have to go back, or she have to go back and give written notice to the city manager? Why can't I give written notice to the mayor? Or, anything that comes up in a future agenda item shall be placed the same
Okay.
thing at the next
Future
regularly
agenda item.
scheduled meeting.
Well, Mayor, members of council, if we want to make that procedure as far as anything that is brought up on future agenda items, I think that's more of a council procedural issue, and we can adopt that as council procedure. But I was just looking at this based on the direction that I was heard from you, Councilman, and looking at the language that we currently have, just trying to get something really clear and concise and workable in the framework that we have of this particular section, which relates to the 75.2 relates to the authority and the duties of the city manager. And so this is my proposed language, which is bring it to the city manager under this charter provision a week in advance in writing, and you know it's going to be on there. If you want something additional to that as a way of saying, if you bring something up with future agenda items, as directives to staff, then that's really, I think, a council procedural issue, and it doesn't really implicate the city manager, if you understand, which is where this language currently resides in 75.2. That's where the language came in 75.2 that builds in this procedure, and that was adopted as part of the council manager amendments from 2000. And so that's where I was addressing this, and I just tried to make it as clear and succinct.
I'll make sure it's placed on the agenda, Councilman.
Well, I know, but you know, we
But it's
gotta-
more of a direction to staff to make sure that the staff follow through, I understand.
Mr. Massey, you must remember, let us not forget that we were accused of an illegal meeting because of this. Because the mayor didn't confront, didn't say he'd get approval.
Right.
So these little things like this.
Right, well, this is going to...
That's why I'd like to see it
Right.
clearly and put on there clearly. Because we were accused of that, and I don't want anybody in the future to be placed in that position like that.
Well, and that's really an interesting point that you're making, and it's a good point. And that really implicates that first sentence of section 10 here. And I'll read that out loud. It says, the city manager, in consultation with the mayor, shall set the agenda for each regular and special meeting of council. And so that's where I think the manager and the mayor have to engage in consultations. It says the manager in consultation with the mayor. And so I think the allegation was that the previous city manager said that because the mayor called a special meeting and set the agenda without consulting him, he believed that created some sort of a sense of illegality. I don't read that sentence that way. You know, the consultation with the mayor, I think that means he is being given direction by the mayor, and it's not something that he has discretion in. And that's where my letter, my correspondence to the Attorney General, I brought that out, and of course, and I haven't heard any response to that. But I did not take away the direction that I heard from you, Councilman Verona, at the last meeting with respect to making sure one council member could put it on, that I should also address that first sentence. So I didn't do that.
I don't want to make it I don't want to make it complicated. I want to make it simple.
That's
I
what I
also want to make sure
Yeah.
that we don't get caught in anything
Right.
like what happened previously.
Right.
Now, the other thing is on January the 10th of 2021, I'm a private citizen.
Yes.
I want to put an item on the agenda.
Yes.
I'm confused here. You scratched out everything of my
I did
rights.
strike that out because I tried to make it as, again, as, if you want to keep that in there.
I want people to be able to know here that they can petition their government.
Okay, I think what that is this unnumbered last sentence of the current 75.2. I didn't scratch that out. And it says, and I'll read that in entirety, consideration of petitions by citizens of the city. If a citizen of the city is denied a place on the agenda, and that's by coming call to the public and requesting an item being placed on the agenda, and so if that doesn't happen, he may appear before the city council and present a written petition. Such petition must be acted on by the city council in the regular course of business within 30 days, or be placed on the agenda at the next regular council meeting. So that language is preserved. So I think that that is your
So you're not going to
concern
go on
there.
vacation?
No. Look, I just want to have that on the record as the interpretation as to the intent of this legislation.
Yeah, so you're not, this resolution, this particular charter amendment does nothing to amend that language.
Okay, it says that I see it scratched out here where it says of citizens of the city by presenting the item to the mayor for inclusion.
So what is, or citizen of the city by, so what it is as the current process is a citizen or council can go to the mayor, request it. If the mayor doesn't place it, then the councilman can get a second councilman in writing, and it shall be placed. And so with this language, there's certainty that one council member can get an item on the agenda by going directly to the city manager. And then I thought that the consideration of petitions by the citizens of the city, that also guarantees a citizen placing an item on the agenda. And so it just is become, you know, if the councilman doesn't have to first get rejected by the mayor, then why should a citizen go that route? And when the citizen has his rights in this other provision here as well.
Okay,
So,
it's
that-
clear, and I just wanna make sure the citizen's right to petition is still in
I think under that, the last two sentences there that I read, I think that right is still preserved.
the interpretation of the legislation. Okay, Mayor.
You okay?
What? Just
Yes.
one comment, Mr. Massey. With the approval of resolution, the previous resolution ending in 007, this resolution or section might change numbers.
This 75.2
Might change.
will be changed if, because again, we will, this is in the administration chapter, and that chapter is chapter 8, I believe. And so this would just take whatever the section number is based on its number within that chapter. It's order within that
There's
chapter.
nothing we have to do to
No, so this.
to
but-
pre-mention it that it might change.
No, I don't think so, no. So, but the idea is that substantively, it will be changed pursuant to this resolution if it's adopted by the vote of the people.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
Okay, call for the question. You ready? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Jesus, I'm glad Mr. Varona's gonna change the whole city charter before he meets.
Go for it.
What's next?
No, the mayor, that if I can address that,
I'm glad it's going to the vote of the public.
this is the last charter. These last three charter amendments, are just very brief, and two of them are obviously just housekeeping. But with the timeline that's in place for the city to submit ballot language to the county to get the language on the ballot for November, that's basically this week. So I'm not planning on bringing any future charter amendments to council consideration for the November election. If there is a feel among the council members that there are additional amendments that need to be made, beyond, I think this is now 6, because we've adopted 2 or 3, I think 3 previously. So we will have 6 propositions that are going to be on the ballot for the vote of the people, and essentially the window is closed to put a 7th or an 8th or a 9th. If there is a desire to do that, you would either have to wait 2 years or call a special election and pay the cost of a special election. So, but I think with 6, we're doing a good effort at cleaning up some charter issues there.
Good. Okay, we're
Thank you,
done?
Mayor.
Okay. Number 9. A, consideration possible action on ordinance, O2020-06-002.
So moved, Mayor.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Mr. Mayor,
Can you read?
just a point of order. If the person who made the motion and the person who seconded the motion, if they would agree just to a friendly amendment to waive the second reading.
Oh, that's a great point.
Yes.
As part of their motion, if they move to approve and waive the second reading, then it's effective 30 days from tonight.
Okay.
That's a very good point. Thank you, Councilman Barone. So is that part of your motion, Mrs.
Yes,
Lopez?
that's
Okay.
part of my motion.
Yes,
Waive the
second.
motion.
Waive the second reading? Okay.
Second reading.
Okay, discussion?
just can Mr. Massey just give us an overview so the people know what
Yeah, yes, sir, I'd be happy to, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. The current city code, in addition to the charter, we have a city code, and chapter 15 in the city code is entitled Personnel. And these sections were adopted as, mostly back in, it looks like by ordinance number 098-12-10, and there's another one 090-05 or 0504, and so there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections, so it's a very short chapter, all adopted in the 90s and all outdated. I mean, all completely outdated, and so, I mean, it needs to be repealed, and so in addition to repealing it, I'm offered a replacement section. So 2 sections are substantive, section 15-1 and 15-2. If adopted, these would be new sections. 15-1 just sets out general principles that are sort of the aspirational principles that the HR manual is supposed to meet. And so it doesn't amend the HR manual, and it doesn't refer to the current HR manual by reference to make the HR manual part of the code, by reference. It just sets out principles and guidelines. And what these do, though, is that they will be controlling interpretive instruments for how the HR manual is supposed to be interpreted in the future. So I think that serves a good purpose. Section 15-2, compensation, just says that the HR director shall periodically conduct studies to make sure that our compensation is adequate and competitive. Again, that's more aspirational. It doesn't tell council that they have to do anything with the study. That needs to remain as it is now, subject to the discretion, especially with budgetary discretion of the council. But what Article 2, the new Article 2, would adopt sections 15-10 through 15-20. And what would happen, again, as part of our codification of the city code and the new charter, is we already have an ordinance number 2008-07-004, and those provisions would now be actually part of the city code. And that's important because that ordinance is our meet and confer ordinance, and unfortunately it's not as readily available when you have it in an ordinance form as you have it when it's in the city code, because the city code is available online. And so I've seen just in the recent past where department directors don't have the ordinance from 2008, where they really need to have it available to them, and this is the idea, is to make it more available not only to the department directors but to the public, and so that's the goal of that Article 2 there in the new proposed Chapter 15.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Massey?
Yes.
Nothing on the meet and confer was changed.
No.
It's just clarity, that's all.
What it is again, direction to our code editor to take the substance of that ordinance and put it in a particular place with particular chapter numbers and section numbers, and then it will be part of our republished code. Right, so that's a good point. No substantive changes on that.
Any more discussion? Do we have a first and a second?
Yes, we already have had that.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You guys have it?
And the second reading was
Yes,
waived,
waived.
and so this ordinance will be effective 30 days from
30
today's
days.
date.
Okay, B, consideration and possible action of ordinance 2020-06-003.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Discussion? Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I just got a reading from the sewer and water meters for 2019 into 2020. And it looks like nobody's ever come back and requested a reduction on them, right? There's 20 of them that were for the sewer connection for 2019, and 6 so far for 2020 on the sewer connection, and then the water connection for this is for 2019, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and since nobody came up and asked for any reductions of this, and following Dr. Barona's comments about we need to find sources of income, right, for whatever it is, for water, for sewer, for garbage, for any of these things. You know, looking at the situation here and trying to cut them in half, well, basically just specific for 2 months or 3 months or whatever. Again, I look at this and I keep saying to myself, you know, why are we doing it? Why are we doing it? Are we doing this for specific people? Or what is the reason for it? When actually we're going to have to go back to it, and actually we may have to increase it, right? And these were fees that were placed 10 years ago, basically, right? And haven't been increased in 10 years. And how do they compete with other places? I think they compete pretty well, especially when we were helped out with the water and actually on sewer by the federal government, right? So I don't know if you know, I personally do not feel comfortable with reducing any water meters or sewer connections, not at this time, right? Maybe if Nogales was really booming and we really needed to get new subdivisions coming online, maybe I would consider it then. But at this time and effort right now, I look at it and I say to myself, why? Why are we doing it? I mean, are we going to attract any more businesses or any more houses to come here because we're going to reduce it by $1,000 or $1,500? I can't say anybody's going to get in line and say I want to move to Nogales because they're reducing it by $1,500 or $2,000. That's my opinion on that agenda item.
Go ahead, Councilman.
No, with all due respect to Councilman Trump, his thoughts are at best, and that's exactly the reason why his explanation that the population of Nogales is declining and declining and declining and declining. That's why those $2.3 million that we got from the state government was based on a population of 2019 of 20,000 individuals. We've been on a decline. I don't know. He is right about one thing. I don't know if it's going to. But what harm are we going to do? What's happening right now? Where is all of this that's happening? It wasn't here last year. It wasn't here the year before. So if we try something that's a little different, well, for 90 days, not 9 years, for 90 days, to see if something good can happen. See if we can collect some sales tax. See if we can collect some extra revenue. See if people who are tight on money are willing to invest and build some homes here in Nogales. Because the more they spend in building homes, that's extra sales tax for us. So we're going to get some money. And maybe it's going to work out, and maybe it's not. But why not give it a chance and let's see if it will work out. And then we can go from there. I mean, the previous city manager said he wanted to get an economic development director to help us with that. We can't just be thinking of taking on additional responsibilities and more responsibilities, and everybody's leaving Nogales. The question isn't who has asked for a refund. That's not the question. The question is, why are people leaving Nogales? Mr. Kissinger made a presentation on these fees, and we were high. Then we said, you said, Mayor, you wanted to adjust it. to get them in, especially with the city of Douglas. What happened? We were supposed to talk about it the next meeting. We never spoke about it again. I don't see anything wrong with us trying something, at least to see if we can help the economy here. Giving the people who pay, giving them a little break to see if they can spend some more money on their house and building. I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't think it's gonna create a financial burden on us or anything of that matter. So I'm supportive.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Councilman Barona, have you thought of any ways to promote this, to maybe bring in more businesses or bring in more people to build homes and say,
Well, that's-
hey, this is what we're doing, maybe we can help you out and, slash the development fees and all that stuff. Have you thought about doing something like that?
Councilman Diaz, it's a very thought-provoking question that you pose. And to give you the honest truth, Commander, I have not. I haven't. I kind of look at it like this. We do this, and I have to leave it up to staff to come up with the marketing and the implementation of it. It's for them to carry out the order now. If they ask for suggestions, I could give some suggestions and all of that. That's why I've always suggested that we need somebody full-time as an economic development director to go out consistently, work with the mayor, go out and attract people like this, okay? Exactly what you're saying. But to answer your question, the answer is truthfully, no, I haven't. I'm hoping that it'll work out well and people will look at it. I don't think it's going to attract anybody in the commercial section as it's going to attract more people in the private section. Home building, an addition to the house, or things like that. But I'm just saying, let's give it a try. Let's try something instead of being status quo, repeating the same thing all of the time.
Go ahead, Councilman. Thank you.
Mayor, just an hour ago, Dr. Barona was making a comment that we needed to increase fees for taxes because we need more money in the city. And now we're gonna reduce it, right? I mean, if people are gonna move to Nogales, they're gonna move to Nogales. If they find a cheaper lot somewhere, or they can't find a lot in Nogales to build, or they look at it and say, overall, it's too expensive, they're gonna find Rio Rico, they're gonna find somewhere else. If we're gonna reduce something by $500 or $1,000, is it gonna draw anybody extra in here? It doesn't seem to have stopped the developers from going ahead and building here. It didn't stop other people from building here. But I agree, I mean, if some people wanna move to Tucson, there's nothing's gonna happen. If some people want a different deal and wanna move to Phoenix, there's nothing much we're gonna do here, right? If they wanna move to Green Valley, that's another deal. But the point here is, nobody has argued the point. In the last, 10 years, nobody's argued the point. Everybody seems to have understood that that's what's basically gonna be needed. And if we're gonna do it for 90 days, it seems to me we're doing this for specifically for X number of people, or for one person, or for two people. And that doesn't seem fair to me at all. Again, we haven't raised this in 10 years. And even looking at the numbers that were presented by Mr. Kissinger, it was still, for what the people were getting, it was still very competitive. So, as far as I can see, I don't think we're gonna attract anyone else to say, we're gonna give you $1,000 break. I can't even imagine that the people would say, that's gonna convince me to move to Nogales.
Vice Mayor, you want to say something?
Yes, we don't have any incentives in Nogales to bring business or people to live here in Nogales. I think if we start that way, we're talking about annexation. Maybe if we try this for the 90 days, or I don't know how long, the people coming to Nogales that want to come to Nogales say, well, the city's willing to work with us. Maybe it's fine that we move over to Nogales and start our own business and build our own home. And that's the only incentive right now that we can offer. We don't have anything else to offer the outside people or the outside businesses.
I ran my campaign on basically saying that we needed incentives for Nogales, not only in the residential area, but in the commercial side of it, to attract businesses, well-paying jobs to manufacturing or any type of business that would come. And I mentioned that to the previous city manager, no, not the previous, the one before the previous. I mentioned it to him, and we had talked about that. And incentives are very popular, when it comes to development. And Mr. Hanesian has a point there. If there was a developer that wanted to build, 100 homes, well, that'd be a great incentive for them. You know, a one person, it wouldn't be much. It wouldn't be much for the city or not. But if we can get somebody to say, you know what, I'm looking at Nogales to build a warehouse, or to build because it doesn't seem like we have a lot of residential space anymore in Nogales, but we do have a lot of warehouse. We have the west side of the industrial park. If this could help a business come in that can employ, 100 people, 10, 15, I don't know, but employ people in Nogales, it would help.
That's right.
And that's why I mentioned it to Mr. Massey when you, Mr. Varona, had wanted this on the agenda, and the word residential was only there, and I said no, it's got to be commercial too, because you can't just offer incentives to residential, because it's not fair. I honestly, Mr. Hanesian, and I strongly believe in what you say, but honestly, to do it for 90 days, to see if it's an incentive that if we see a warehouse or a building or a company coming in and say, you know what, I'm coming in because there's something in Nogales that, even during the crisis that we have right now and everything that's happening, they're making an effort to increase the opportunities for employment. I support something like this, because I think we need to look at it that way, and let's just hope that something does happen within 90 days. We'll see it in 90 days. If nothing happens in 90 days, pues, ni modo que vamos a hacer. But I mean, this is another thing. Say it works in 90 days. Say we see a lot. Is this something we want to do for a certain amount of time? Or can we attach other incentives? There's other ways of doing it. Places like Tucson and Phoenix, what they do is, they want these big companies coming in. They offer these incentives, and they say, you know what, I'll give you this. It'd be nice if something like this could be worked out also with the county, that they could do something with the tax bracket, the property tax bracket, which I don't know if they would, but if we could put something together, then it'd be something that we could really sink our teeth in and say, you know what, these are incentives that are good for the community. So that's the way I feel. But I understand, Mr. Hanesian, I understand what you mean, and I know that maybe it doesn't sound like the right time to do it, but I'm looking at 90 days, and let's see what happens, and if somebody takes advantage of it, more power to them.
Mayor?
Yes, go
I
ahead.
do want to comment on Councilman Veneciano's comment where he said, nothing much we can do here when people want to leave. Well, if there's nothing much we can do when they want to leave, then we're going to accept a declining population. And that defeatist attitude, I think we should try something. Make a suggestion to help Nogales grow. And if it's a success, fine. If we don't get anything, but let's try something than just doing the same thing, repeating the same thing over and over again, so we're going to get the same results over and over and over again.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Mr. Mayor, I'm all for Nogales growing. I think it would be a wonderful idea, and I think there should be incentives. If somebody wants to come down and they want to put in, like when Walmart came in, there was incentives there, right? even though Walmart was gonna come in anyway.
Yeah.
But there was incentives, there's been incentives for shopping centers, there's been incentives. Those incentives, of course, I don't know if the county went ahead and changed some of the property taxes on there or whatever. And I'm all for, if somebody wants to build something here in Nogales, I'm all for it. But if we give all incentives for everything, you know, I don't know of any city that does an incentive for anything that happens, right? Again, if we're gonna try it, that's fine, let's try it. If we're doing it specifically for one or two individuals, I'm not for it. But if we're gonna go ahead and try it and see what happens, we'll find out what happens in 90 days. Maybe we will get a rush, maybe we will, right? I would love for somebody to come in and build 50 houses in the city of Nogales, right? If we had the lots, I would love to have that, right? It would help the city tremendously, it would help everybody. That I would be for. If we're just doing it to help one person or one business or whatever, that I would be against.
You know, we
So
would.
hopefully it's for the right reasons that we're doing this.
We would have the lots and the opportunity if the annexation was to go through, because
Yes, that
you
would
know,
help tremendously.
that's how you can improve and bring new people to Nogales with ideas for Nogales, you know, to improve the economy of the city, but you have to understand that you know, let's just try it. Let's just, you know, I mean, see what it catches, see if it works, and if it's something that is accepted by somebody that wants to develop and wants to do something, well, this is their opportunity. This is their opportunity to save a little money, you know. And I do wish that like I said, that something like this we could do together with the county, because, you know, having the taxes is what, you know, like for instance, who in this room would want to raise sales tax? I don't. I don't want one. I don't want. Who wants to raise the sanitation, the sewer? I don't. I'll tell you that right now. If it comes up, I'm going to be the first one to say no. Why? Because it's not the right thing to do. Now, but if you have somebody else to come in, you know, and we've discussed, John, we've discussed sanitation with our containers that we've been losing, our commercial. Do we have incentives for that? No, we don't. We don't give anything to the person. So if somebody else comes in and says, you know what, I'll give it to you a lot cheaper than Nogales. For how long? I don't know, but I'll give it to you a lot cheaper. Well, they're going to go for it, even if it's only $10, $20 less than the container. But they'll go for it. The people will do that. That's an incentive that they're getting from that company. But we, the city, we're not giving any incentives in the commercial side. That's why we're losing our commercial trash pickup. You know, little by little, we're losing it. We have to do something. We've already talked about that, Mr. Varona. We talked about that some months back, and we talked here about it. We have to do something about it. That's an incentive. So, Vice Mayor, there's a lot of incentives out there. You just have to, you know, say, like they say, you know, think out of the box. You know, look at it. Okay, what can we do? Can we sacrifice a little bit to get that? You know, if you sacrifice a few dollars on a container of trash, but you get back 200 accounts that you lost, you're gonna make your money. You're making money. Okay, so yes. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, if the council agrees with you on the agenda item there, that it will be incentives. Hopefully we can have incentives that people will really move to, right? I have no objections to incentives. I mean, we've done it before. You know, we did it many times before. So hopefully this will.
And the reason I think, Mr. Hanesian, I think this one's good is because we're not putting an incentive out there of 50% of the cost of the water connection, the sewer connection, from now to forever.
No.
We're doing a 90-day test period to see it. That's what it is. And then after that, you know, we talk economic development. Let's all of us be economic development directors. Let us all be part of it. You know, the best people for economic development are the elected officials. If we follow through, we're the best. You know, everybody hires an economic development director for $120,000. One guy trying to look up there, but we're the best. We go to the conferences. We go to all the meetings. We talk. We interact with other cities to find out what they're doing. Let's pick up from that. Let's go for that. And you know, I know this is kind of hard to do because we've talked about it several times, and but I think let's make the move. You know, this is
We
you
can
know.
get all of these new commercial accounts and residential accounts, and we'll give them an incentive. They can give them 10 lanes free of bowling money.
It's closed. It's closed. He's gonna open it up. No, Councilman. He's gonna need an incentive.
That's right, he's gonna need an incentive.
Maybe we can
All right.
bring
I'll
a
call
new
for the
bowling alley.
question on this. Are we gonna have a second reading on this? Or?
The motion doesn't call for waiver of the
No?
second reading, but it's only permissible to waive the second reading if it's unanimous.
Oh, okay.
So we can take the vote if it's unanimous. Maybe we can have a second vote for
Okay,
to waive the second reading.
Well, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr.
All right.
Manasian.
And then in that situation,
Up at the last minute.
in that event, Mr. Mayor, if we want to take a second vote at this point to waive the second reading, we'll do. I mean, we didn't amend the motion. The motion didn't include it. So
Okay.
you can make a second motion at this point to waive the second
Motion
reading.
to waive the second reading.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
So it's effective as of today.
Vice
as of
Mayor,
tomorrow.
you take number 10, please. I don't know how you're gonna do that financial report, but you go.
Item number 10, monthly report.
Vice Mayor,
Let me get them in so they can do it.
All right, thank you.
¿Cómo has estado? Bien. That's a produce business.
Things been been good. Markets have been más para acá que para acá.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jeanette Barrales, and also here to present the financial report is
Hi, I'm Bernie Weekend. Some of you may remember me from about 15 years ago or so, or longer.
You have any, Anna?
Mayor Copies.
No, let me see, but I don't know, I haven't seen. Can we take a 5-minute recess?
Sure, we'll go ahead and take a 5-minute recess.
We'll go get the comments.
Oh, it's a very good idea. 5 minutes.
I use them, I do.
Yes, you're not one.
No, no, huh? They're serious then. Well, yeah, but they're suffering worse than us, aren't they?
You charged it up before? When I first sat down, I turned it on and it was no problem.
They have more deaths. I think we just had the one. We had several. But yeah, but they have multiple our population. They have 40 times our population. Hey, let's go, exactly.
Can't hear who? All of us? I mean, if there's a problem, it's usually us in the front, but these guys have the microphones right in front of us. Oh. Are they on right now? They're on right now. They are on? Our overweight fees are coming in good, and the governor stopped a lot of it. Stopped it completely. It's another one. The mayor just sent a letter to Alakowski along with the chairman of yeah, the director,
Rossi left.
Alakowski got to start charging. So, right now, free. No, I know, but the governor even extended it another 60 days. Well, I don't think the governor's going to.
$90,000.
Go up to 90,000.
Yes.
From 85.
From 80. From 80.
We're 80 to 90. Crossing the border, correct. And it's only crossing the border and it's only directly to the south.
Guarona, are you ready, Mr. Guarona?
Yes, sir.
Ahora sí que a Sandy se fue por la y yo la vengo.
Está de perdido.
Jorge, tú no estás tan bien. ¿Ya comiste?
No. Quedaron 3 sándwiches nomás, ¿no? Creo. reconvene. Financial report. Sir,
Yes, sir,
Mr.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Attorney, just get the financial report, so I'll turn it over to Bernie.
yes.
Mayor, members of council, you have a report before you through the month of April. I believe this is in a format that has been similar to previous months, in particular for the period through April. With respect to revenues, slightly ahead of budget at that point in an accumulated way, but in particular, sales tax at that point has been substantially up through April, but we'll see further into the presentation that in April and possibly thereafter, we're going to start to see maybe some decline. In terms of the expenditures, generally speaking, we're substantially below budget. As you can see in that year-to-date column, at roughly 66% of budget against what would be 83% through the month of April. Beyond that, you have a slide that shows the cash account or the funds available at Wells Fargo, and then a slide that shows sales tax, local sales tax collection, and in particular, prior to the beginning of the virus, the city was certainly seemingly way ahead of budget, but that's pretty similar throughout the state. We saw that a lot is that sales tax collections were generally up year to date, but then in April and May, we've seen this reduction, and yet each of these would be reflective of the previous month's activity for the sales tax collectors, the businesses, and so on. So we may not really see until this month or next month the real effect of May and June sales activity and therefore tax collection. And in particular, the graph that shows that follows the numeric schedule, you see how this year has, with the most recent months, declined below last year's rates or last year's trend. Beyond that, the next schedule is a departmental expenditure reflection, and with the exception of sanitary, all other departments are below what budget would have been up to April. I'm not sure, I don't have any information as to what is in the sanitary at this point, it's just what you mentioned. But I'm not sure that hasn't been something maybe you considered prior to this point. Beyond that, then there are the individual schedule for her and the enterprise funds, the utility fund, and in general, all these are in a positive direction. That their net fund balance position. In particular, I'd point out that there was discussion earlier tonight about the sanitation negative fund balance. You can see that on that last schedule for sanitation, that at this point up through April, there's at least a $400,000 that appears what will be a reduction of that deficit. So, assuming the rest of the year continues, there will yet be another reduction of that deficit that appears. And with that, I'll take any questions that I could possibly be able to answer.
This graph that you have right here, well, we're still working on the budget next week for the following week. Could you make us a 5-year projection graph like this so we can see? Because basically, we might be up $100,000, $200,000 every year, but it's still to be flat. Okay, the revenue about the same. Could you give it to us, what we've done?
Are you saying for the 5 preceding years?
Yes.
Or a projection for
No, for the last 5 years.
term? Absolutely.
So we can see, basically, I look at it being a flat line, and basically, the point is that the revenues that we do receive go to 2 departments, basically, to run those 2 departments. So you can make a graph. And in June, you had $224,000 there. Is that something that came in later than the 20th? Should be placed in May?
I'm sorry, where are you looking?
Right here on the sales tax, on the top column, there's 224,000.
Page 3.
That's probably sales tax that came in later after the 20th, that you send over to the June? Because I don't know why that money would be there right now.
I'm still not sure I see.
The very last column, you're showing us, you're showing revenues here in June.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Should that answer
That
it?
would know.
Yeah, I need to get with her, because that,
I remember her calling and said we just received about 224,000, but I can't remember what date. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know why it's
you didn't collect it in June, but I know sometimes it comes in later, so she puts it off. Okay. That's fine. They're not doing too bad. Just to think if one of the avenue is open and going.
It's nice to see that bed tax is picking up a bit.
That's all.
Yes.
There she is.
Are we done?
Do you want to answer that question? Jeanette, the June, the 224,000 in the month of June, is that really May that came in late?
Yes, that came in on the 1st. And so, and just to point out this graph, so this shows, sales tax by month that was filed. So just to give you, to show you how it dropped down to the, from last year.
And I asked if you could do one for the last 5 years, that graph for the last 5 years.
I won't be able to, so, well, let me see, because
Okay.
all this is on this, on the website for the state treasurer, so let me look at this.
Okay, thank you, Jenna.
That has to do, you're talking about the fact that, the state has not been a collector for all of those 5 years.
That's right, so, thank you for pointing it out, so they started in 2017, is that correct?
But you have the data when we collected it.
Yes.
The data's still available.
Yes.
So the data who collected, somebody collected.
Right.
Sí, hombre.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Careful. Zapatosecita. Es el que trae máscara. All right. 11, Mayor and Council's report on current events. Let's start with you, Mr. Hanesian.
I actually have nothing to report today.
Nothing? Okay. Mr. Bojorquez?
I went to the Dallas High School graduation. It was a little bit different than other years, you know, because of the virus. It was pretty interesting, and it was the kids enjoyed it, and it's not, you know, the normal event, but it's the first class that lives through this type of ceremony. I also attended the Memorial Day ceremony at the cemetery. Again, you know, because of the virus, there was very little people. There was very small crowd there. Not too much of attendance, but they still, you know, played it through, and it was okay. And that's all I have.
Councilman Maldonado?
Basically, you know, I attended, what was it, Monday, the ride of the bikers, in memory of Mr. Mark Seeger.
Uh-huh.
You know,
I saw you on Facebook.
something that we don't want to be. But, you know, after that, I've been talking to John, because I did see, and you know, a lot of debris in our streets and stuff like that. So we gotta get on doing that. But that's basically what I did.
Thank you. Councilman Diaz?
Going to Memorial Day, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, which the mayor was there too, we placed the flags on all the headstones at the Nogales Cemetery on Sunday, the day before Memorial Day. So made sure that all the fallen comrades had their flag there. And this past Sunday, we had our elections at the BFW. Mayor was there too, and I'm the commander again for another year. So.
Congratulations.
And this coming weekend, we have the BFW conference in Scottsdale. It'll be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we're having election of state officers and doing the bylaws for the state BFW. And Sunday, it's a council of administration meeting, and it's going to be really small. It's not going to be like it usually is. So it's going to be kind of boring, but you know, it's basically the two items that we have to do: the bylaws and the election. So that's what's going on. Thank you.
Councilwoman?
I just attended a meeting at the Consulado Mexicano regarding the INE becas. You are aware of what the INE becas is. Okay, now the Mexican government this year is giving only $10,000. So with a matching fund, it'll be $20,000 that we'll be giving away, which I think is just great because we thought we were not going to be getting any money this year, but they call and they say that they are willing in giving 10,000 plus the matching, which it would be, it's just great. 20,000 helps a lot for the students.
Who's matching it?
Okay, the Chamberlains, the Shipley Foundation, and there's another one, the Valencia. Those three are the ones.
You don't get any support from the county attorney's office? You used to get it.
We used to, but according to them, right now they don't have enough money.
Enough money?
Yeah, yeah, but they did help a
Yeah,
lot.
I remember that
at the
used to help you a lot.
Yeah, but right now, it's not that bad. It's only 10,000 that we have to match, so it's not
Good.
so bad.
That's good.
But we'll see next year. We are hoping for much more.
I hope everything is big.
Yes.
Councilman Malone?
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, the comment that I received on this order that the governor put out on the curfew, and that our local police department indicated that they weren't going to enforce that executive order. I just don't think we send mixed messages when we decide what we're going to enforce and what we're not going to enforce. And I don't think it's a good message to send. Could have been handled in a different way, but to say that you're not going to enforce it, well, that's a problem that are going out in the country right now. Who is the police department that say what they're going to enforce or what they're not going to enforce? They're supposed to enforce the laws. That's what they're supposed to do. So I haven't received very positive comments on that decision.
Is that it? Yeah. Well, I echo you, Mr. Varona, because I felt the same way. I did speak to the deputy city manager and the chief about it, but it wasn't the right way to say you weren't going to enforce it. Not an order of the governor. You never do that. But one thing I could tell you is that we better enforce it. Even if it was said on the paper that you're not going to enforce it, we better enforce it. You have to do this till the 8th, and let's just make sure that we
So
take, do our job. And also, like Councilman Diaz said, I was part of the group placing the flags on the grave sites at the cemetery of our fallen soldiers on Sunday, day before Memorial Day. This morning, I was part of a conference call from Washington, and same thing about the protest and everything that's happening. Just giving us an idea of what they're doing and how to proceed with it, and basically saying follow the governors, because that's what we're supposed to do. And there was also updates on COVID-19. May 20th, I had a conference call with Customs and Border Patrol regarding border security, and the commissioner was there from Washington. There was mayors from Douglas to San Luis, myself, and supervisors from the 3 counties also. They were present at that communication. On May 27th, I had a conference call from the White House regarding COVID-19 briefing. Same day, conference call Senator Sinema about COVID also, and how we can approach it. And they also mentioned, they basically wanted to know if we were getting the support from the governor and the federal government in reference to that. And I spoke to them, and I told them yes, that we were getting the support, getting the numbers and everything, and mentioned that Mr. Kissinger was giving us the update every day, and we were on top of things. So they just want to make sure that if we have any needs or anything that they're there to support us in any way. Senator Sinema's office. And then on the same day, I had a conference call from the Governor Ducey's office. So it was basically I've been spending my time on doing that, as you know, that most of my meetings have been by telephone. But probably tomorrow's going to be my first day that I'm going to have somebody in my office. The person wants to talk to me about recycling, and that is working directly with Nogales, Sonora, and he's going to bring something to show me. And they want to recycle our goods, like our tires, our oils, our everything that we can recycle. And I was talking to Mr. Kissinger about that, because I want him to be present with me in the meeting. If it's something that we can, really take advantage of it, maybe we can start a recycling program again. It sounds good. Let's just see how effective it is. So I'm going to be having that meeting tomorrow. So, like I said, before, that I think it's going to be up to us to do a lot of things. And while we're working on the budget, let's think of how we can, like I mentioned on one of the agenda items, let's think of how we can, as a council, be more proactive in the economic development side of it. We can do it. We can do it, and it's not going to cost $120,000 for sure. And if we can get something going, and we already do. You do your work with Nogales, Sonora, and the culture, and every one of us. You do it in sports. We all do it in one way or another. We do it, but I think we should really, think out of the box in this. And these are the times. These are the best times. When you're, like they say, behind the 8 ball, is the best time to think and really strategize to get things done. And we'll be successful. It's just, I think we've had worse times. Councilman Barona. I'm sure we had some real bad times when you were mayor. No, I'm not saying because you were mayor.
When you
Mr. It had to come from him. That was a sinister laugh. Did you hear that? They're behind that mask.
Right now, he's gonna be walking out and wanna take a picture with the Bible out there in the front.
But like I said, let's keep on working hard and get things done. All right. And I want to thank you very much. And now, future agenda items. Yes.
Mayor.
Mr. You got your pen out? Okay, good.
Oh, no,
We only have one, sir.
Oh, he's got one. Oh my God.
We can have an update on the NHS sidewalks. It was a capital project, and I wanna see if there's the people came over here to petition us for that, and we thought we would do it. But let's see if we can try to do something there, how much we can do in-house and all that. And the other thing is that I would like to have a report both verbally, this year, and in the narrative. I'd like to know what the police force policy is on chokehold, stranglehold, and if an officer points a gun at someone, does it get reported? And then I'd like to know also about the union contract expire at the end of the month, and what is happening with the union contract negotiations. That's all, Mayor.
Go ahead.
It's just one contract that expires and the negotiation.
Who is that with? I forget.
CWA.
CWA. And police and fire expires next year?
You can come to our meeting next year if you want to.
No, I'm not coming back.
I'll invite you.
Cordially
I'll
invited.
invite you. Dr. Verona, you want an agenda item on next month's meeting for the update on the union negotiation contract?
Please.
Okay. You ready? Everybody's looking at me like you want to leave or something. Oh, you got an agenda item?
I got three.
Good. Three. ¿Qué onda, varona?
No, what's gonna be our plan with the city manager?
The city manager, we're going to be working on it starting tomorrow.
Okay, that's,
No, that's it.
hold on, Mr. Barona, I got,
I'm sorry, what you said.
thank you, sir. The other thing,
I didn't hear the first item.
What was the plan on the city manager?
Does you want a city manager
recruitment,
update
what's gonna,
on the next council meeting?
Probably. We'll see. We'll see.
we're, the other thing is, Mr. Barona already talked about the sidewalk on Frank Reed. I know I talked to John on the bike lane. We had a meeting back in March when they showed us the diagram and everything that we had done with ADOT and all that. Had a meeting with Bugs Bonetta from the county. His dream would be that we would take it up to the county limits, to the city limits, and they would proceed it from there. So see if we could continue to look at that. Then John, you were with me when we went with ADOT on the crosswalk on Burger King.
Yes, sir.
And they were gonna move it to the north side of the entrance of Burger King due to the basically due to the whatchamacallit, potential harm or dangers, how it's so close to the curb. And they supposedly they had it to move it. We haven't seen nothing on that.
Yes, sir. I've reached out to them on several occasions about that, and they told me, yes, we'll get to it, won't get to it.
Okay.
If you want, Councilman, I'll reach out to them and say, do you want that on an agenda item, or just give you the information?
Just basically giving information, sir. And then our paving programs, that we have, we're back to full flow on employees and everybody's working.
We have to sit down, I'm gonna sit down with Mr.
Conti-
Kisser
continue
tomorrow when I come.
Look at that.
We gotta get back to paving.
Yes, sir. And then, you know, back to bikes, you know, can the city do something on, you know, alerting the general public, that bikes, you know, be careful with bike riders? You know,
Yeah, we can,
we
we should put some type of,
look into
Uh,
something like that?
something on the paper or something that we have to, let's do some promotion on it.
But we have a budget item of $50-some thousand for matching funds for the bike path going down with the
Yes,
accident.
I know.
So we gotta come up right now with $50,000 as our share to make that bike path.
Yeah, because that's what they told us at ADOT.
Yeah.
We're gonna be doing.
That's all I have, man.
And that's the only street that has the space, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Grand Avenue, that side, because they don't, the majority of the other streets, like here on Grand Avenue and stuff, I don't know if they'll be able to, you know, put in a 4-foot wide, bike lane.
Yeah.
But we could do Morty ourselves, you know, because that's one of our streets. We could do Hohokam ourselves. We could do a design on that and get it started. Start preparing for more bike friendly.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I got.
Is that it?
Yes.
Is this the next thing?
Yes.
Right here?
Uh-huh.
Is this the next thing?
Next.
It's adjourned.
Good night.
Yes, yes, do it.
All right, man. See you in the morning.
All the way.